your ultimate travel companion. Download the app for free and embark on a journey where your adventures not only become unforgettable memories, but also opportunities to earn. With Passport Bros, your travel content is more than just photos and videos. It's your ticket to a fully monetizable network of like-minded adventurers. Imagine making money from your travel stories. Post videos, share your experiences, and let the world be a part of your journey. But that's not all. Connect with travelers from around the globe, join co-ed groups, and make lasting friendships, perhaps even with foreign women who share your passion for exploration. And here's the best part. Store your earnings securely in your Passport Bros wallet. No hassle, no worries. Just seamless transactions wherever your travels take you. Looking for the best local experiences? Passport Bros has got you covered. Get personalized recommendations for tour guides, rentals, and the hottest clubs in town. Did we mention the app is absolutely free to download? That's right. Your passport to a world of adventure is just a click away. And here's the cherry on top. With Passport Bros, you can make money while exploring new places. Turn your passion for travel into a source of income, right from your mobile device. So what are you waiting for? Download Passport Bros now, share your journey, connect with fellow explorers, and let the adventure begin.
Download now on the App Store and Google Play.
All right, we are live. Welcome, family, to another show. It is your man BMT in the building, and we got a hell of a show for you guys today. We've been on the road, man. We did a great classic show last night, right around 6 p.m. Guys, you can definitely check that out. Do Men Hit the Wall? Real good show yesterday, and today we got another excellent show. This is not so much talked about, but it needs to be addressed. Does race matter when dating abroad? When dating these foreign women, is race an issue? And I'm gonna break down, or we're gonna break down, a couple of videos. So I want to welcome the featured guest onto the show. You guys are all familiar with him. He's been on the show quite a few times. He is based in China. I want to welcome to the show my main man, Flight Madness, in the building. Let me scoot over this way. I want you guys to see the Muhammad Ali in the back. What's going on, Flight Madness?
Good Tuesday, right? Yeah, I noticed that painting, man. I think it's dope back there, man. I like the colors on it.
Yeah, man, they got some they got dope artists in every country I've been to, man. Thailand, they do the artistry on like the rolls, the scrolls. Really dope the way they paint as well. But this one was by a guy out there in Zonal Colonial, guys. So this is a good. Only thing about this painting is he spelled it Ali wrong. He spelled it like in Spanish, Ali, which isAlly, and it's of course Muhammad Ali. But appreciate that, man. But what's been going on out there in China, brother? Before we get into the show.
Man, shoot. For me on the teaching end, I just finished giving final exams today, so I'm gonna put those grades in the computer. And next week I get my passport, and I'm gonna be off to Thailand, man. I'm excited.
Oh, okay. You're gonna be going back to Thailand, man. Okay, that kind of ties into what we're talking about today about dating foreign women, and does race matter and all that good stuff. We also got a video in China. We got a blockbuster video. Y'all gonna love this. This guy's hilarious. We're gonna talk about that a little later on in the show. But before we get into it, I want to welcome everybody in the chat. We already got 51 in the room. I want to welcome Bobby the Space Ghost in the building. He says checking in. What up, Bobby the Space Ghost? We got Salute BMT from Wonderful Travels. Salute to you as well. Megatron in the building. BMT said much respect to you as well, my brother. John Kevin Rush in the building early. He says, what up, BMT? What's good? Where do you recommend I live? In Bangkok. I plan on living there for 3 months. Okay, hit me up on the email, blackmentravels@gmail, because Bangkok is an interesting city. You can live all over Bangkok. It's very convenient. They got 1,001 7-Elevens out there. So hit me up on the email, blackmentravels@gmail. I can kind of give you a rundown of where I would live in Bangkok. All right. Paul Milner says, Danny, I'm not trolling, but was the Chinese chick in your earlier video a dude? She looks hella sus. Okay, Danny, do you want to address that? They coming in hot and early at you, bro.
I just asked him like what video. I can't think of any videos. What video did I put out recently where it's like, you mean the long video where I'm walking with the girl and we went to the I need to know what girl, man. I haven't been accused of.
He said earlier videos. That means like your beginning videos.
In the early vid, dude. I don't know, man. Like, I haven't been hanging out with any trans. Yeah. I don't know what's going on over there, but yeah.
All right, Red Cup Riddick says, shout out to BMT and Danny. Y'all been dropping some heat lately. Oh, y'all gonna love this show we got today, man. Listen, one thing I say about me and my boy Danny, my bro, is the fact that we don't do the passport bro pandering. Like we're very logical in our assessments when it comes to dating abroad, dating foreignly. Like we're gonna look at some things that are factual. We're gonna give our opinions, but we're not gonna sit there and make it look all hunky dory. Like some of these other content creators. As a matter of fact, I was in Thailand one time and I met a guy who had a meeting with a content creator out there in Thailand. And he was telling me, he was like, yeah, I met my mans, and all that. He's a cool dude. But do you think it's kind of disingenuous to really have a hired person but you're saying it's your girl, it's your relationship, right? But it's hired. So when guys come out here, they thinking that they're gonna get what you got easily, but in essence, you pretty much got an employee, and you're not telling guys that. And I was like, well, you got a point there. I mean, it's up to that content creator to discourse his personal relationships, dead and other. But I do understand his standpoint from it too, because you do got a lot of guys in this space that think that, okay, I'm gonna get a passport, I'm gonna pull up, and I'm gonna have me 10 beautiful women waiting on me at the airport.
Yeah.
So, with us, we kind of just keep it $150.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, honestly, like I have no, like when I went to Thailand for the first time in 2023. So before that time, I had basically zero experience of like, giving money to women for those kind of services. So before then, I was kind of more closed to it. But after seeing like how it works out and how convenient it can be, it's like I'm a lot more open to the idea. So I don't have a problem with guys owning up to it. I don't know why guys, are like acting like you can only do it one way. Like, I pretty much say every time people bring it up, man, like I do both ways now. Like I'm like, I use game, man. I also sometimes just, have fun, throw some cash around,
Well, I don't think you present in your content, like you don't really present it like you just kind of going around just pulling up, macking on the ladies, and you just getting kind of what you want. I.e., it's easier to attract foreign women than it is American women. I don't think that's kind of like necessarily what you do. And you got some content creators that are kind of like thriving and growing off that. And then once they subs kind of figure it out, they just like, well, damn, bro, you was coming off like you was super player with it. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like you did what anybody could do, to a certain degree. And I'm not calling anybody out at all. So please, because people be hitting me up in the back end, man, I heard you talking about me, man. I'm like, no, bro, I'm just saying in general, bro. But shout out to my man, Ronan Travels with this. He said, salute BMT Travels, growing gracefully, my brother. That was from the last show last night. Let me ask your opinion on this before we get into the show, though, brother. What do you think about men hitting the wall? Do men hit the wall, rather?
So I saw this video. It was this guy. He spent like a long time in jail, but he was like 47, and he was like in way better shape than me. Like, I hope I look 80% as good as this guy when I turn 47. I actually might send you that video because it's like a YouTube show. I think we might be able to play it during the live stream. But basically, we don't hit the wall the same way that women do. But here's the thing, y'all. It seems like for men and women, there are lots of like young people who don't really care. So for example, like Jennifer Lopez, right? Jennifer Lopez is like one of those kind of outlier women where like she's in her like 50s or something crazy, but she takes really good care of herself. And I'm sure like a lot of guys would still smash that, regardless of how many miles are on it or, how old she is. There are probably tons of guys who would probably smash that, have no problem smashing that. But she took really good care of herself, and she's kind of an outlier. For men, we're the same way. If you take care of yourself, you can kind of, like you said, people are making fun of it, but you can age gracefully, and you can go into older age, looking pretty good. Pretty much the only time I think age is an issue is like when you look visibly like super old and like you can barely move and like that kind of thing. That's when like I feel like maybe the woman might get some kind of social pressure from being with like a really old guy. But if you try to
Facts.
take care of yourself, I've seen videos of guys who are like 80 and they're still doing like exercise, they're like working out, they're still mobile. That's very different than the image of like the 80-year-old grandpa who can't move or like has to like have a cane to walk around. It's just a very different aging.
Man, I was out in Thailand and I was pretty much hooping daily, and it was this older guy. First of all, the best hooper on the court was actually about in his 60s. He was like 62 or 63. Uh, shout out to my man. I forgot my man name. Damn it! But he's out there daily, so he's like one of the best athletes best basketball players out there. His name escaped me. Apologies on that, brother. What was that? Damn, I forgot his name. But it was another guy. It was another older white guy out there who was literally in his 60s, bro, and he was playing ball with us, right? And he wasn't like moving like this or nothing like that. He wasn't like we weren't taking it easy on him. I was guarding him, and he was playing. He was just playing ball. He was hooping. So I mean, you're absolutely right. It is how you take care of yourself. Like that makes it. I mean, if you keep the weight down, man, and you keep your limbs, nimble and loose, you can really, extend your dating window much longer than the average woman can, right? Also, when you mention the social pressure, women or the women's circle around them will always make an exception if a younger woman is dating a older guy with money, because they'll understand it. It'll be very logical. Oh, she using him for the money, and that's how they reason with it. Although she might actually have genuine feelings for this guy, right? But that's how she can deal with the social pressure, and that's how other people can kind of understand it more so. Vice versa
Yeah, yeah.
overseas, it's a little different overseas, where it's just kind of like the norm in certain cases. All right,
Exactly, man.
let me read this comment real quick. Judge Dress in the building says a lot of the bros claim those women love black men. I really don't believe that at all. You an American and they know what you dare for, so it's just a lick for them. Love has zero to do with them. What you would say to that, Danny?
I mean, I think a lot of these guys have pretty jaded perception of women because they don't really like if you're going to certain countries where money talks and like that's the main thing that women want from foreigners, then I think you're gonna like have these kind of situations where you think like, oh, like she only wants me for my money. I think in most like developed countries, like where women can like work and make money, you don't have this kind of issue really. And like where like she only wants you for the money. Like I think that's only true in countries where women are like super poor and they can't really like make as much money. Like if the woman can earn like a decent wage and if she has parents that can like provide for her at least like until she gets married, I don't think it's that. I don't think it's all that negative. Like oh, like love has nothing to do with it. Like oh, you're American. I think that's only true for certain countries that men like to travel to, like to throw cash around.
Like, yeah, guys like pretty much lead with their wallet. But listen, man, women like guys with money, bro. Like, there's nowhere around that. I know some guys want to stay in the gym 24/7, buy Mackin courses and everything. Listen, man, hey, sometimes some of these women, especially the younger ones, they will, because of either the social pressure of their family or just they look at their comforts as being more important than who they pull up with. They'll go with the guy with the money. All right. Women want to be comfortable. That's just the brass tacks of it. That's in their DNA. All right. Meaning, so what I'm trying to say in layman terms, basically, I feel like I overcomplicated it, is the fact that it's been proven. All right. Study after study, just in general, with my experiences with women in my 40 years of being here, that a woman will like a guy a lot. She will even give a guy sexual access. But the guy that is in her eyes going to be a better provider, maybe have a career, maybe have, properties or whatever it is, she'll end up going with that guy. Right? Even though he might be short, he might not be the most attractive. She looks at like, okay, my kids, I can send my kids to private school. I gotta never worry about being homeless. I'm gonna be in a home. I'm gonna be protected, and this is what my family chooses for me to be with. A provider. So that plays a large part in it, whether we like to admit to it or not. All right. Shout out my man Jay Clyde in the building. We got Iman Perry. He says, macking the shout out my man Iman Perry. I got my man Daryl. You know my man Daryl out there in Kazakhstan. I hope I pronounced it right. He said, money is always a factor, but being American gives you a slight edge. You will still need to be the best version of yourself if you want quality. That's a really good point, Daryl. That's a very good point, and that's the point I'm trying to get across to the audience, because I'm telling you guys, it is a lot of pandering going on in the passport bro space right now. Shout out to my man Jay Clyde. Jay Clyde be talking about that too. He's like, a lot of guys are just misrepresenting how easy it is to pretty much date these foreign women.
I'm
John
linking up with Daryl in Kazakhstan too. Like Daryl's my connect out in Kazakhstan, so maybe around July, you might be seeing us together, like in that new place not many guys go to.
Okay, shout out to my man. Oh, I got one more comment by Daryl. Says money is always a factor. Okay, he said that. All right. John Kevin Rush says that's hypergamy BMT, which is universal. My man Jay Clyde says facts. That's 100 old capping ass ninjas. All right. So let's get down to this video, man. Now this video is how your race affects your dating life as a man. This is a pretty good video. He listed some pretty good. Hold on, I'm gonna put you on mute. Then I hear some feedback from you. Hold on one second. All right. So this is a pretty good reference video right here. He has some good references. The title of the video is How Your Race Affects Your Dating Life as a Man. This is by the YouTuber Love Made Logical. All right. I got his channel in the description. So you guys want to check out the full video, because we're going to play pretty much excerpts of this video. But I want to say that he did a pretty good job being very logical. He has his own breakdowns that make a lot of sense. And we're going to kind of break parts of this video down. All right. So shout out to Love Made Logical, guys. Make sure to check out his channel. But we're going to start at the beginning just to give you guys some context in the video. Hold on.
Your race matters. In dating, at least. A study by the University of Chicago done in 2006 looked at multiple different traits of men, including height, facial attractiveness, and ethnicity, and attempted to give dollar values to each of these traits. So if you're 5 feet tall, you need $317,000 in additional income to be the equivalent of someone who's 5'11 and a half.
Okay, I want to stop it right there real quick. Did y'all understand that? All right. So basically what he's saying is, in order to be attractive to the woman based on, I guess, your height, if you're a 5 foot, just straight 5 foot, which is quite short, actually, you would need an additional $317,000 made a year to be attractive to the average female. Did you get that, Danny? Oh,
yeah,
brother.
Yeah, okay. Got it, man. Got it.
Okay. But he switches it up. He gonna switch it up. Hold on, right here.
I think it's hard to visualize these income amounts, though. And so for the sake of this video, we're going to be looking at height and ethnicity. So if you're an Asian man in the eyes of a white woman, the largest subtraction in the study, we can see that's the equivalent of being about 5'3", which is 8.5 inches shorter than the baseline, 5'11 and a half. And if we look at a lighter one, we can see that Hispanic men in the eyes of Asian women is considered to be about 5'10", which is, 1.5 inches shorter than the baseline. Now, I'm not going to take any of these exact figures because this study does use a smaller sample size, and I'm going to ignore them. But what we can take away is being an unfavorable ethnicity can be the equivalent of being approximately 2 to 9 inches shorter. So if you're a girl's favorable ethnicity and she likes your race, you're going to appear your regular height of, in this case, 6'3". Whereas if you're her unfavorable ethnicity, in terms of your attractiveness, you're going to appear 5'6".
Okay, so did you guys get that? Did you guys get that? You understand where you're coming from, Danny?
Yeah. So this is not, these numbers aren't exact, y'all, and we also got to take into account maybe what unfavorable. Like I think when they say unfavorable, I think he might mean like, okay, for example, I live in China, right? And like Chinese people and maybe like Indian people, people from India, they have beef. So that's like a country where, okay, they might have like a really strong unfavorable association. So I think he's talking about in those kind of situations where it's like the girl maybe really has negative associations with your race. So I don't think it's necessarily like, okay, you're not her ideal. It's like, I think it's kind of like the opposite, right? That's my perception of it, but we can continue.
Okay, cool.
Obviously, you don't actually appear shorter, but in terms of your attractiveness, this is pretty easy to visualize. So, what are people's actual preferences? Well, when we look at a study from OkCupid done in 2014, we can see men's online dating preferences tend to be pretty neutral outside of their preferences for black women, with black men being the most neutral.
Okay, so did y'all get that? He said men's dating practices are pretty much neutral across all ethnicities. So white men, black men, Latino men. A lot of us are pretty much neutral. We'll kind of date whatever to a certain degree, meaning we'll smash whatever, basically. But he said Asian men, Latino men, and white men pretty much exclude black women to a certain degree. What you think about that, Danny?
Yeah. Honestly, like it's not really like I'm be straight up, y'all. Like black women kind of have like a really negative perception. They don't really have positive like association, like with just in the media and in general, like probably a lot of that. We can't just all blame it on racism, right? There are like unfortunately a lot of black women who behave in ways that maybe aren't very attractive, and it kind of turns off. Maybe black men are like the only ones willing to deal with that kind of. So, yeah.
Yeah, because if you look at the chart right here, Asian men they pretty much got them read out. Latino men pretty much have it read out, and white men pretty much have it read out for the most part. And we all know that interracially, the stats say when you do date black, it's usually the black men and white women for the most part. All right, let's continue. Before they beat us up, Danny, they'll beat us up for these stats. They will say we bashing them. So let's move on. Before we get roasted in the chat. Hold on.
We can see that Asian women tend to do the best outside of their own race, although all women tend to do best with their own race.
All right, did y'all get that? Did y'all get that part? And I'm gonna let it roll. Don't for worry. I'm gonna let it work because I know people be like, man, why you keep stopping it? But basically, what he's saying that Asian women do the best outside their race. Now, Danny, you gotta speak on that. Why do you think that Asian women do the best outside their race?
I think one of the factors is like, okay, maybe a lot of like, it's hard to say, but like I think they just come across as a lot more feminine, non-threatening. Like a lot of Asian women are kind of small, they're cute, they have like these kind of girly feminine qualities. It's really easy for a man to be bigger than an Asian woman. So for a lot of guys, a lot of guys are intimidated by big women, right? So I think that's one of the things that maybe that kind of goes against black women. Like that kind of doesn't work for black women in their favor, because a woman who's like built kind of curvy, you need to be like kind of a stronger man to handle that. Probably like if you're kind of a skinny, weak man and you see like a really thick woman with some big legs, you might not be able to lift her up. But I think almost everyone who sees like an Asian woman, like an average sized Asian woman, a normal man should be able to lift her up without a problem. So I just think a lot of stuff works in their favor naturally, and that also works against Asian men. Like the fact that Asian women they look very feminine, that kind of thing also works against Asian men because they might also look a little bit too feminine for a lot of women. So it's kind of it's a double-edged sword, right?
Okay. All right. And it says the black men are the most neutral. All right. And we're gonna flip it around too. So don't worry, ladies. We're gonna flip it around. We're gonna see the eye preferences as well.
Comienza tu camino hoy con
damn
GoDaddy.
commercials.
Si puedes imaginarlo, puedes construirlo. Sea cual sea.
All right, here we go.
Now, when we look at women's dating preferences, immediately you'll probably notice women are a lot harsher. Asian women being the harshest in terms of racial preferences. All men tend to do, again, best with their own race, although with white men it's kind of close. White men tend to do just by far the best outside of their own race, with Asian men doing the worst outside of their own race. Now, these percentages you're looking at are match percentage increases and decreases, which probably don't mean much to you because I doubt you've used OkCupid. So what instead we're going to look at is inches. If we use the study I looked at earlier and convert these numbers over to inches, you can see approximately how much attraction is gained or lost based on your ethnicity across national averages. Some of you are probably thinking right now, what about me? I'm multiple. Well, we're going to cover that now. If you're a mixed guy who's a mix of black and white descent, and you meet a girl who's white and has the national average white woman preferences, which are white men are neutral and black men get a -6, then what we're going to do is take the two and add them together, or in this case, subtract.
Okay, so hold on. So basically, the mixed guys are like
Well, we're
three,
gonna cover
basically.
that thinking right now.
I
What about
want to go
me?
back to this chart though.
Multiple. You are probably thinking
All
right
right, hold
now.
on. There, I want to go back to that chart. All right. Okay. So basically, for the mixed guys, that means that white women are kind of in the middle with the mixed guys. So they don't really exclude mixed guys, but they prefer a white male. Okay. All right. So looking at this chart right here, as you guys can see, we flip it around. We had the woman's chart first, or the guy's chart first. Now we got the woman's chart. And Danny, I don't know if you want to respond to this, brother, but it's like Asian women ain't checking for the black man, man. What you got to say about this, brother? What you got to say about this? Minus
Well,
9 inches? Come on, man. And when we say inches, that means height. What he's doing is he's deducting the height from the guys to say that basically they're less attractive in their eyes. Meaning, an Asian woman could look at you, instead of you being 6'2", she's looking at you like you a 5'5" or something like that. But go ahead, Danny.
Okay, I doubt that women are this precise. But so look, for online dating, I could probably think maybe this is more accurate, because when women are swiping online, or like however they're doing, they're kind of making split decisions because they're going through literally hundreds of profiles maybe. So they're just kind of like, okay, this, no, no, no. I've seen how women swipe. Like they literally look at the photo like in less than 2 seconds and they swipe no if it's like immediately like not really attractive. So yeah, I think this could be accurate for online. Yeah, it's hard to say.
All right. So speaking online, I mean, are you on online platforms in China? Or they're like dating apps that you?
I mean, they got Tinder and stuff. Like for me, like, and for most guys, pretty much unless you're like a really, really good looking guy, and even then, it's like you just have a lot higher chance getting a girl when you talk to her in person. Because
Okay.
even if you're like a guy who's like really, really handsome, it's like you're not the only handsome guy on there. Like those apps are basically made for handsome guys to smash all the women, and the other guys kind of get the leftovers. So like if you're not approaching women in person, you're kind of leaving a lot of booty on the table, right? Like a lot of booty that could be yours. You're leaving it on the table. So you just have a much higher chance of getting women when you approach in person compared to the app. Apps seem to mainly just work for guys who are like really, really good looking and who know how to take photos, and the rest of the guys kind of, it doesn't really work in your favor as well.
Okay. So basically, it's got Asian women not really preferring black men. They obviously prefer their own as well as white men, and I can say that on the basis that's pretty true. I mean, definitely, it's a lot of women in Asia, so you can definitely find women that want to date brothers. But I would say, from what I've seen, white guys get top tier Asian women just as much as the Asian get their women. All right. Now the best thing is black women. All right. That's what we do the best in as far as compatibility in dating is our own black women. When you can see it's pretty much average green light. That's the only green we got on our block. Now the issue I have with this is when it comes to black women and Latino women, and the Latino women being a -7. Now that part I don't necessarily agree with because you have a large sector of Latino women that are considered to be black, all right, or have Afro-ish features, and a lot of these women would like to date Afro-ish men. So that part, Latino women, I don't necessarily agree with the -7 inches. When I mean inches, I mean height, fellas. Because they'll go in the chat saying, man, Daddy, they're talking about penis sizes. No, we're not. We're talking about height, guys. And when we mean height, they're saying that Latino women if you date a Latina woman, she could possibly look at you at 7 inches lower than your natural height because she's deeming you not to be attractive because of your ethnicity. Like I said before, Latina women kind of does graze a large pool of women. And I think when they say Latina women, he's probably prefacing Mexican, the white mestizo, lighter complected women. He's kind of Xing out all the Afro Latinas that's in South America and the Caribbean. So that's what I say that. Okay. Now you see with white women, we all know that, brothers, white women, we kind of get that part, white women and brothers. That's been going on since the 70s. That would probably be, I don't know if that's still going to be, because this study was done damn near 10 years ago. So I don't know if that's still super relevant. I think that nowadays, it's a lot of interracial dating going on, even more so than 10 years ago. But I will say, yeah, that might be accurate with the white women in America, to a certain degree. And I know we've all seen this right here, Danny. Hold on, let me pull this up real quick. I know we've seen a lot of this in the States. Okay. Somebody said another snow bunny has successfully taken a good, wealthy black man off the market. Black women still out here acting ratchet and fighting on reality TV. Okay. I didn't say that. That's on the quote, family. Is this the new trend for the USA? All right. So we got Dallas Cowboy, it looks like. Tyrone Smith. I don't keep up with the sports as much as I used to once I left the country. But we've seen a lot of athletes, married to snow bunnies, married to white women. So that's pretty much a known factor. All right. Anything you want to say on this before we move on, Danny?
I mean, in terms of, like, black athletes dating outside their race, like, honestly, y'all, like, there's a lot of stuff that seems like it's broken in, like, black America and just for us in general. So, like, maybe, like, it seems like just too much dysfunction. And I think there's a lot of people who've just kind of given up on the idea of kind of restoring peace within, like, the black community. So maybe it is good if, like, our successful guys, they breed out and they, like, interracial date, because it seems like the path that things are going, things don't seem to be getting any better with, like, between black men and black women. Things seem to be getting worse. So maybe we should be out here interracial dating more.
All right. Judge Red says every race prefers their own except black people. We're gonna go deep. Don't worry, we're gonna go deep in that a little later on the stream too. So let's continue with this video. Fair use, and shout out to this content creator as well.
What about me? I'm multiple. Well, we're going to cover that now. If you who's white men are neutral, and black men get a -6, then what we're going to do is take the two and add them together, or in this case, subtract.
I used to talk about the mixed guys. We get it, fam.
These are all images on that OkCupid study perfectly line up with the most common interracial couples in America. Dating apps certainly are real life, even if they are a little bit of an exaggeration. So how do you use any of this to your advantage? Well, first of all, there's been a decrease in racial preference over the last, ever. And this means interracial relationships are only becoming more common. Despite this, though, every race will tend to do best with their own race, especially Asian men and black men. I'm not really sure why, but this is what the data seems to bear out.
All right. Now, Danny, do you want to respond to that? Yeah. Do you want to respond to that? They're saying that Asian men and black men pretty much have a higher match rate within their own race.
Yeah, and I'm really curious, like, do they find, like, are they also, like, saying us, like, is this for America, or is this, like, all, like, worldwide, global? That might be something that we want to clarify. But yeah, it definitely seems like, from what I've seen, Asian guys have a pretty difficult time outside of Asia. Like, unless they're, like, really tall and good looking, it's just like Asian men have a very difficult time. I don't necessarily agree with the black men thing, but I don't know if it's mainly just black American men. Because, like, also for Asian, they might also be including India in that. So, like, Asian guys, like this guy in the photo, and, like, Indian guys, like, I hate to say this, but really, like, they rank at the bottom in terms of, like if you look at those statistics on, like, global attractiveness, how men are rated. Kind of Asian guys and I'm including Indian guys in that, they're like the bottom, with Indian guys being at the very bottom. So that's just something to keep in mind. And I don't know who they included in black. They might also be including Africa. It might not just be like black American. But yeah, I think it's It could be. It could be like, bias. Like maybe black guys are having a difficult time, but I don't think it's that difficult. Like I don't think like black guys are doing the black guys I've seen in our community are still doing pretty decent. Not enough to make me think they're at the very bottom of the tier. Like they're definitely not.
Okay, okay.
Interracial dating is more common in major cities, and so I recommend if you're struggling because of your ethnicity and you are in a small town, so say you're an Asian man in a town of all white people or black people or really any ethnicity, I would recommend getting to a city where people are going to have less harsh racial preferences and you'll do better. I will keep in mind, not all cities are the same, and some cities will be better than others. So I want you to let your mind go blank for a second and imagine a situation. Imagine you're an Asian man deciding where to go to university, and you have two choices: University of Toronto in Toronto, Canada, and Queen's University in Kingston, Canada. Toronto is 43% white and 35% Asian. Queens is 82% white and 12% Asian. Well, where do you decide to go, assuming you're looking to have a good dating life? Well, if you chose Queens, you would be at a serious disadvantage. Why is this? Well, a large majority white population makes women feel a need to whitewash themselves to fit in.
Now we all know about that. We all definitely know about the women's trying to sound white to fit in.
That will mean non-white women want to date white men to essentially fit into the culture of the city. As a bonus, you have very few Asian women, which are going to be the group you do the best with. And because non-white women want to date white men, you're probably not getting the same level of bonus as you would in other places. On top of that, white men, who are 82% of the population, are probably going to get a bonus because, again, non-white women want to date white men in cities where it's the majority. And what makes it even worse is that 82% of the population are white women, where even if we use just the national averages, you're still getting minus 8 inches to your attractiveness from 82% of the population. Now, if we take a more multicultural city like Toronto, Asian women will feel less pressure to whitewash themselves to fit in because there's not even a majority. It's such a multicultural city and everyone appreciates their own culture within the city. Asian women will tend to appreciate men of their own culture. As a bonus, there's a large amount of Asian women, approximately 3 times as many per capita as in Kingston, which is going to be your most favorable matchup, even if you just get the national averages, which you may get even more than. Now, the other benefit of a diversity like Toronto is low social stigma around dating people outside of your own ethnicity.
All right, so this could pretty much apply. I know he's speaking on the examples of, excuse me, he's speaking on the examples of, Asian men and white women and vice versa, white women and Asian men. But this could definitely apply for Latin America in concerns of more so the DR and Colombia, like that little heavy presence of, of mixed race people, Afro Latinas. Whereas if you in Medellin, it's more socially acceptable for a even lighter skinned Latina to be dating a Black American. Whereas maybe you go to some other cities a little bit more on the outskirts, might not be necessarily frowned upon because people will get it that, okay, you're American, or even if you're white American, they'll probably get it more, but it might not be as socially acceptable. They might sneak a little race joke in once or twice in Spanish on you. Excuse me. Let's continue the video. Fair use. Hold on. Matter of fact, let's skip a little bit up. All right, here we go.
Averages of -8 to Asian men from every ethnicity, whereas in a diverse city, because of reduced racial stereotypes, they've been around more Asian men, and there's less of a culture shock, it's going to fall to only, say, -4. These are all estimates, of course, and I would take everything I say here with a little bit of a grain of salt, but these are, I've found to be generally true. So when choosing to move cities to improve your dating life, I would recommend looking for more of your own ethnicity, as it's just going to be the group you do statistically the best with, and look for cities without a majority ethnicity if it isn't your own ethnicity. So a couple examples: if you're Hispanic and you're choosing between a job in San Antonio and San Francisco, Obviously, you're going to want to choose San Antonio as you have 4 times the Hispanic population, which means your race is the majority and the culture will be around fitting into your culture, as well as you just have 4 times the prospects of people you do the best with, meaning you're going to pick San Antonio. If you're Asian and you're choosing between, say you have 2 options for jobs, Seattle or New York, and you look and you see the Asian percentage is the same, approximately, then you're going to look at what the majority is, which the largest group in New York City is white people at only 31%, meaning there's no majority group. So there's no pressure to fit into any specific group. Whereas in Seattle, it's majority white, meaning most Asian women are going to try and date white men just to try and fit into white culture, because that's the culture of the city. And essentially there's a peer pressure to it, right?
All right, that's a good part to stop at right there. I wanna give a shout out to my man Xantos Clutch. He's the first super chat of the day. Shout out to you, Xantos Clutch, with the $5 super chat, man. I really appreciate that. He says, for myself, it was actually cities with less blacks, specifically less hood bros, where I had much more success. That held up in America and overseas. Shout out to my man Xantos Clutch. All right. Dollar Wheel says, people dating their own is the rule. Everything is fine. Date and mate with who you like, but you need to have a positive image of yourself and your kind. All right. All right. So let's move on. All right. We skipped a little bit. We're almost done with this video. And this is what you were talking about a little bit earlier, Danny. Conventional attractiveness. Hold on with guys. Now, hold on. Let's put this out real quick.
The Eurocentric beauty standard does exist. White men are considered conventionally attractive, just across all ethnicities. And the main advantage of this is going to be with girls' social circles. So let's take 2 situations here. One, you're a Hispanic man and a black woman likes you, right? These are all averages, exceptions exist. This black woman tends to like Latino men. Her friends, on the other hand, are another mix of races who don't necessarily like Latino men. Maybe some do, maybe some don't, but she's going to receive mixed feedback from her friends and not know if she should stick with this guy. Whereas if you're a white man and a black woman is attracted to you and she goes and talks to your friends, they're all going to think you're attractive because white men tend to do the best across ethnicities, and because of that, she'll think she picked well, right? All of her friends like you, so you must be attractive, right? I do think this has the largest advantage.
All right. So what do you think about that, Danny? The social circle of a woman. Would this apply to, let's say, if you were dating a Chinese girl, you think her friends might have her saying like, well, he is black, should I still date him? You think that'd be an issue?
I honestly don't think that's an issue. 'Cause like in a big city, like, okay, so for example, in China, like you're dating a girl, it's highly unlikely that all her friends are like dating white guys. Maybe all her friends are probably dating Chinese. So that could be like the issue, maybe. Like, okay, like all her friends are dating Chinese and she's the only one who's dating a foreigner. Maybe that could be a possible issue. But I think that matters less after girls graduate. Because usually I think when girls are in school, they have a lot stronger social circle ties. But after girls graduate, they're kind of in the workforce and they spend less time in general just hanging out with their friends. So it's going to be less of a factor like, oh, this girl right here is dating like a guy that's like this race or da da da. I don't think it'll be that big of an issue for us guys overseas. So in America or probably like in those kind of places, yeah, it's probably going to be a thing. But like I just think overseas, women are interracial dating anyways. The types of women you're going to date, they're interracial dating. So it's probably a good chance their friends are open to it, or they at least don't have a big problem with it. So I think it'll be less of an issue overseas, the whole social circle thing. The main issue is that you're not a local, and that's pretty much a universal issue.
Okay. So you don't think that it might? And this could possibly work in your favor because the girls can say, "Hey, is it true about the black guys and in the bedroom type shit?" And they get curious, and that you can hook your boy up, or you can go do the backdoor fucked up shit. But you don't think it might be an issue with, let's just say, the average Chinese woman dating a black guy and bringing you around her social circle?
That's an issue for everybody, but
Okay.
yeah, it could be a bigger issue for like black people and maybe for African people and like Indian people, like I said, and especially Japanese people. Like we can't just we're focusing on black people, but we got to remember like Asians, they also don't like each other sometimes. So I think
Facts.
it's if
Facts.
it's if a Japanese person, you're gonna be you're lucky you're not Japanese. You're trying to date like a Chinese woman. That's gonna definitely cause some trouble. Probably. I know one girl. She was like dating a Japanese guy, but she kind of broke up with him because she knew her parents would never accept him. I've heard that before, and yeah, so it
That
can be an issue.
that's one thing I would definitely agree with, man. When I was out in Thailand and the Thai chick I was dating at the time was telling me that she really don't like Koreans like that. It just was awkward to me. I'm like, what do you mean you don't like Koreans? Y'all are Asian. And she's like, she gave me this whole rundown on why she didn't like Koreans. I think her sister was married a Korean guy, anything. But it just was reminiscent to me. I'm like, oh, that's kind of, I be forgetting that we're the same way. Like everybody's similar. Like we might not be favorable of Jamaicans or something like that. Or Haitians. Like we have our own little, and we, of course, we all intermarry with each other because we all, black, or if you want to say black. But that's definitely true. Like you definitely got women that don't like Thai women that don't like Koreans, that don't like Japanese. That's very true. All right. All right. Diversity. Sound Mind says diversity doesn't matter for black men. Matter in fact, in most of those cities, it's actually worse and have to deal with microaggressions. All right. I'm trying to understand what you're saying, Sound Mind, but okay, you gotta deal with and that's true. You gotta deal with some microaggressions as a black man. That's very true. All right. Shout out to the Dividend Bro says, how's everybody doing? All right. Chris Blue says Americans are obsessed with race because it keeps everything focused on whiteness and proximity to whiteness. Once everyone stops caring about race, the white race would fall apart. All right. Okay. Well, maybe, tell them that. Tell them that. Don't tell us that. We ain't worried about it. All right. The best of US $2 super chat says, then why are white women still worship in? I'm sorry, Dan. Why are white men still worship in China? Do you want to answer that, Danny?
I wouldn't say they're worship guys. I would say that tall, handsome white guys get preference, but I wouldn't say worshipped. Yeah, like I definitely wouldn't say worshipped. It's like, okay, women, if she has a preference for guys with European features, most women would prefer to date a guy of their own race. Like, let me just go ahead and say this. Like, most women would prefer to date a guy of their own race. A woman who
Okay.
dates.
I think he was referring to the chart in the video, but go ahead, Danny.
Oh, okay. Yeah, but basically, most women will prefer to date in their own race. For women who will date foreigners, a higher percentage of them will have a preference for guys with European features. Yeah, but those women will still be open to dating guys outside their race. It's just that they have a preference for European features because, pretty much like the video said, the world does follow like a European beauty standard. So it's more difficult for a woman to imagine herself, dating like an Arabic guy or like a handsome Jamaican guy. Like it's just not in her. She doesn't have many reference points for that, but she has like thousands of reference points for attractive looking white guys. So that's the main thing. That's the reason that they have the preference for white guys.
Okay. All right. And we want to talk about this next point, and then we're going to move on to the next video, but let's continue.
Something to keep in mind, though, is I think EBS is largely mitigated if you're highly attractive. If you're very, very attractive, everyone can tell you're attractive, and it doesn't really make a difference. I think that's pretty self-explanatory. Racial stereotypes do exist. Certain groups are attributed certain qualities on average, and this will help them in short-term or long-term dating depending on the group. But the vice versa will also exist, which will tend to hurt certain groups in terms of short-term dating and hurt certain groups in terms of long-term dating. I don't have any evidence for this, but I've found this to be true, and I'm sure most of you have too.
Okay, hold on. So let's go back to that. We got to talk about this. This is funny, all right?
Dating depending on
all right, so basically what he's saying, because he kind of glanced over it quickly as possible with a little smirk. All right, short-term dating, easier for black men. Basically saying that because of the racial stereotype of black men being well endowed, you would get more access to hookups, random hookups, because like I said before, chicks we want they curious. Women are curious just like men are curious. And the racial stereotype around the world is that, black men are packing. Whether they, on average, yay or nay, that's the racial stereotype. And it's definitely true in Asia. I've experienced this myself. Versus on the other side, he's saying that the Asian guys, their racial stereotypes is having, money, being good at math, long-term dating for them is easier. So a woman might be looking at them to date them, possibly to be in taking care of, long-term relationship, the sugar daddy thing, versus, so that could kind of hurt them in the short term. You understand what I'm saying, Danny?
Yeah, I've heard this. For me, like with Asian women, it's like okay, the girls who date foreigners, yeah, maybe those women will like have like a prep, like a this kind of interest in like the huge thing, trying it out. For probably like a regular like Asian girl who doesn't like just only date foreigners is probably not really a big factor for them. In my experience with Asian girls is like, they're actually afraid of it. They're actually afraid to like be with a black guy because they think it's too big for them. Because you might think it's painful. So I think this kind of the ding-a-ling preference, I think that's mainly for girls who they only date outside their race. And then they also maybe like things pertaining to black American culture. I think for them, yeah, they're interested in trying it out.
Okay. So you see the short-term dating is harder for the Asian guy, but the long-term dating is harder for the black dude. All right. Let me catch some of these comments in the chat real quick. Oh, go ahead, Danny. Was you gonna say something?
I don't. I think if you smash a girl like and you let her know, first of all, like if you're broke and dusty, I don't think that Asian girls specifically. If we're talking about Asian, I can't speak for the women in other parts of the world, but Asian women, the women that they like have sex with, basically that they hook up with, they tend to prefer like guys who are like they choose the same type of guys. So the guys they choose for short term are usually the same type of guys they would choose for long term. So like if you get with a girl short term, there's a pretty good chance that you have an opportunity to lock her down long term because Asian girls usually aren't out here trying to have one night stands and experience a ton of guys unless she's the girl we're talking about, the girl who dates lots of foreigners. So in my opinion, if you can smash a girl one time, you can probably lock her down if you run, if your game is tight and you like show her that you're like a long-term option, and that's my opinion. I don't think it's a big factor like that. Like they only going to hook up with black guys one time. I think that's a little bit overplayed, but I could be wrong. Like maybe other guys have different experience.
Okay. We got 153 in the room. Guys, do me a favor and hit that like button. I appreciate you joining us during the show. The Kid Black 111 says, this is the Black Pill episode. You think it's the Black Pill episode, Danny? Are we, just the Black Pill? We just kind of keeping it $1.50. We just going down the stats. All right.
Black Pill is like don't date women at all, right? Like, Black Pill is like stay away from women and be an incel, right? Isn't that Black Pill?
I don't know. Now I think about it. I really don't know the definition of Black Pill. I just, it can't be good, right? JCan80 says, this is based on American Not International. This video is not valid for abroad. I think the video is kind of point on for abroad, me personally, with the exception of South America, in the Caribbean. I think it's pretty much on point. All right. Timothy Wright says, I like B-Dubs. When will you interview him again? Man, I don't done no damn B-Dub. All right. Black Man Travel says, race matters more while overseas. Okay. Being black plays a role economically in social environments in most countries. That's very true. I do agree with that. But of course, you being American kind of overlaps that. Latin America is a clear example how race plays a role in both social and economically. Blacks are at the bottom. I would agree with that. That's a cold realization that I definitely would agree with, unfortunately. All right. Timothy Bright says, will you interview B-Dub again? I like, man, damn a B-Dub. I stand no goddamn B-Dub. All right. He bring his ass on here if he want to. He gonna get his ass roasted up. All right. Black Man Travel says, true, black men are short-term dating options for a lot of women outside of our race. That's very true. That's very, very true, especially coming from Georgia, where a lot of the white women would definitely, they'll sleep with the brothers for sure, but they won't bring you home to the family. All right. All right. So let's continue. We're almost done with this video. We're gonna move on to the next one. This is a good point too. This is a pretty good point too. Oh, I got it on mute. Hold on.
For certain groups in terms of long-term dating. I don't have any evidence. Another thing is expectations will be given to you based on your race. So
Wait, hold on.
certain women will
went a little too far.
say. Another thing is this, but another thing is expectations will be given to you based on your race. So certain women will like, say, black men who aren't like certain women who aren't black will like black men, but they'll like a specific kind. They want the tall, tatted up black guys rather than, the clean cut. And so even though she likes black men, she likes that kind of black man. If you don't fit that sexual archetype, she's probably not going to like you, even if she likes your ethnicity. Look for women.
Okay, so I can say, Danny, that's more applies to America. That definitely applies to America. Would you agree with that? Because I think outside, internationally, if they rocking with you, they kind of rocking with you. They're not necessarily looking for the black American thug like that. They're just looking for, a guy they like. But in America, I can say that's very true.
Okay, like in China, I've said this before a lot, and guys always get annoyed when I talk about like the hip hop clubs in China and Asia. Like there is like a really big, they love rap music over here. So I will say, like, if you do kind of look like that whole ASAP Rocky, Travis Scott, that kind of like imitation guy, that can work in your favor a little bit if you do look like that. But I would say in general, like, okay, if you're a black guy, I've gotten girls who like I guess they were into black guys. And I'm not like I don't really put off the thug image at all. I'm kind of like clean cut. So yeah, you can get women without needing to be a stereotype. But maybe it could help in certain situations where the woman has an image in her mind of the kind of guy she wants. One thing he said that was interesting is that if you're a good looking guy, you're just good looking regardless of your race. And I think that's pretty true. So I think for black guys specifically, if you have a good body, like if you have like a really good body, and if you're like a decent height, that really works in your benefit. And if you kind of don't have the problem of like being excluded for your race, it's kind of like once you meet a certain looks threshold, like once you look attractiveness in a certain way, like either like your really good body, really tall, or really handsome, your race kind of doesn't factor in. You're just like an attractive guy, no matter what your race is.
Excuse me. I try to mute up that, man. I had to sneeze. All right. Let me catch a super chat real quick. And he actually covered that in the video. I couldn't find the actual clip of that, but he covered the fact that when you exceed the looks, when you're on your Will Smith type shit, you're gonna exceed your race. All right. And even if your resources are up there, you're gonna exceed your race. Case in point, you see a lot of black men marrying white women. Those same white women might not have gave the average guy a chance like that, or might not even have dated black guys previously. All right. Down with the $4.99 super chat says, my wife is Asian mixed and passes for white. We have traveled throughout Asia and we might as well be extraterrestrials. Okay. Shout out
Yeah, I saw Daryl's wife. Like his wife does look very, very white. Like I was like, is she really Kazakhstan? Because I thought like Kazakhstan, they have kind of like an Asian European mix, but his wife does look like she could pass for just kind of like a normal like California girl, you know?
Okay. Shout out to NBA fan says that what it means. Black pill equals hard truths. Okay. Good point. And I want to give a shout out once again to you, my man, Daryl. We got to do another show soon, man. We definitely got to do another show soon. I don't know why these guys always mentioning other like Floyd and B-Dub. They just want drama. They just want that drama. We giving you good information right now, fellas. All right. So let me go ahead and pull another video up. All right. This makes me. Oh, that's my video. Hold on. Let's talk about. Okay. Hold on 1 second.
Oh yeah, BMT. I also sent you the video of this really buff, like 47-year-old dude. He's fresh out of jail, but it's like, he's like working out or something. He's like in really good shape. I don't know if he's natural, but the point is like, he's really, if you look like that when you're 47, or if you can look decently, 80% of that as you go into your 50s, you're gonna be cleaning up with the women. Like I don't think it'll be a big issue.
Yeah, send it again because I had to restart the chat. So send it again real quick when you get a chance.
Okay.
All right. All right. So this right here, this video is pretty hilarious right here. I'm gonna pull this up. This video real quick. Matter of fact, let me pull yours up, then I'll drop on that one. Hold on. All right.
You can kind of watch it on mute too. You can watch it on mute. Just know that he's 47.
Okay. Hold on. Let me pull him up.
Come back in your life, give them a little something to go with, right?
Hey man, like I said, they're the dictator of their life. Once you in that position and you in jail and you got all that time and you ain't figured out escape route, something's wrong. If you in that motherfucking system and all you wanted to do was watch BET and do sports and play tickets and gamble, you was an idiot then, you an idiot now. You know what I'm saying? In some type, you have to graduate and level up and be a man. You feel me? So you have to level up. You got to separate the men from the boy. And if somebody really want that change, down.
Now, Red, it's some of young dudes, man.
Okay, so you're basically saying he's pretty in shape.
Yeah, man, he's 47, man, and really he's better shape than me, y'all. Like I take off my shirt, I don't look like that. So this guy gave me inspiration, man. Like I bought some more. I've been investing more money into like supplements, just trying to make sure I take care of my health and everything. And
But it's a different thing at play too. I seen a video about why prisoners be so jacked. And of course, my brother was locked up for like over a decade, and he came out super jacked up. But it's just a different type of working out. Like most guys are working out to for the ladies and everything like that. But you're working out in prison. First of all, they cut the food off at like 4-5 o'clock. So if you don't got no commissary, you don't got no snacks, you're not eating after 5. That plays a big factor too. That you're pretty much fasting from 5 p.m. to like 5 a.m. or some shit like that. That's number one. Your diet, you're eating much less. You're going to bed. You're forced to go to bed earlier. But number two is the testosterone that you're going to build up. Number one, by not having as much sex, and by being around other men that you got to physically protect yourself from. So you're working out to defend yourself more so just to attract women. So it's a different type. So not only are you eating less, not only are you having less sex, but you're working out and doing thousands of push-ups a day. Them guys will do 1,000 push-ups a day to protect yourself in a fight. So you're literally like in warrior school, whether people like to admit to it or not. But that's why them guys come out so jacked up like that. They're not having sex. They're not supposed to be having sex.
That lowers your testosterone, right? Like not getting any. I think that kind of lowers it, right?
Maybe to a certain degree, bro. But your testosterone will be built right back up when as soon as you leave that cell, you worried about somebody knifing you in the back. You know what I'm saying? So it might build it up. It might build it right back up. Somebody said, hopefully no sex in prison. All right, now I want to play this video, man. This video was hilarious, bro. I'm not going to play the whole video. But, Danny, I really want you to address these issues right here, bro. All right, so this is my guy in China. The title of the video is Why Black Men Are Living Rent-Free in Chinese Students' Mind. Now, somebody posted this in the Passport Bros app, and they got a lot of comments. But we'll continue. This guy's hilarious, bro. This guy's super hilarious, all right?
Country. I'm going to talk about China. I want to tell you guys a story that none of you guys have ever heard of. So yes, the Chinese Communist Party, they're actually paying black men to come to China to study in local Chinese universities. This is more common in China's smaller cities, the tier 2, 3, 4, and 5 cities. So what do I mean by tier 2, 3, 4, 5? It's very simple. All of the cities in China are classified into 5 tiers. So the largest cities, for example, Beijing, Hong Kong, Shanghai, Shenzhen, Guangzhou, Chongqing. So these mega cities with anywhere between 10 is a tier 4 city. It's one of the smaller cities in China. So obviously, the universities in China's tier 1 cities, they have plenty of international attractions, and there are plenty of international students who come to China who study there. But however, in China's tier 2, 3, 4, and 5 cities, they're really struggling to attract foreign students. And why would China want more male African students in these Chinese universities in these smaller tier cities? Well, part of the reason why is that China wants to boost their national image. I'm sure many of you guys have seen on the news, China is doing this whole Belt and Road initiative. They're building all of these roads and hospitals in Africa. They're doing the same thing in Latin America. So in an effort to increase their global influence, China wants to improve their image and their reputation. They want to show everybody in the world that they're a welcoming country to people of all religions and all backgrounds. So right now, there are Chinese workers, for example, in countries in Africa, countries like Nigeria or Congo or Ghana, and they have these programs set up to promote students from these universities, especially young black men, to come to these Chinese universities in smaller tier cities. Well, there are a lot of advantages for these students to come to these lower tier cities. Well, for number one, the tuition, the cost of living is 10 times cheaper. I'm sure many of you guys have seen this on the news. China is losing their edge on the global market in terms of cheap labor. This is mainly due to the fact that these mega cities in China are becoming so expensive to live. And when things get so expensive, you have to increase the workers' wages. And many of these mega cities are simply becoming unaffordable. However, the smaller cities are...
Yeah, hold on.
These guys, for example, if they were able to achieve the average of over 90% in almost every class, many of these international students from Africa, they can get into these Chinese universities for free. And there are also many incentives for these universities to take in these international students as well, especially if they're from a developed or third world country, because this boosts their university's reputation. And also, the more international students a university can attract, the more funding they will be able to get from the municipal, also the provincial, and also the national government.
Okay, so real quick, Danny, have you heard about this? Are they pretty much allowing Africans to come in to China and go to school for free?
Not just Africans, it's pretty much everybody. So this is actually a really big beef that like Chinese students have with foreigners. This kind of adds even more like fire to the flame about why some Chinese people don't like foreigners, because we can get into their top universities way easier than they can. Like Chinese people, they have to study their whole life. They have to work really, really hard in school just to get a chance to go to these universities. And then us foreigners, we go over there, we get like scholarships, they give us free housing, money, we get into the top schools, we get the hot chicks, we go on the campus and we're getting their chicks, Of course, like if I was a Chinese guy, I'd be angry about that too, man. Like these foreigners coming over here so easy. And like the Chinese students are like living in like crappy dormitories, and the foreign students are living in like nice dormitories. So it's like, yeah, man, like they if you want to study abroad someplace, China, they'll make it pretty easy for you. Like you can come over here to study Chinese and they might give you a scholarship, and it's so easy for you.
Okay.
One, they got their own version. Okay, it's called the Douyin. Chinese universities, and they're funding their female study partners. I think that is actually the official title. This is also one of the incentives these Chinese universities are offering to these young African students. They said that if you come to this school, even if you don't speak any Mandarin Chinese, we can help you so that you can navigate your way through life in China. This will help you with adapting to the Chinese language and the culture. So they have these special young female tutors. We're talking 18 to 22-year-olds that can help you with studying, that can help you with your Mandarin Chinese lessons, that can help you with various other things. And obviously, they do a lot more than just studying. And then many of these black men, they're posting these videos and photos on social media. They're showing off their 18-year-old Chinese girl that's their study partner at their universities. They're saying that, oh, look, I made it in China. I found myself an Oriental girl. And many of these Chinese guys at these local universities, these 18 to 22-year-old Chinese guys, they're absolutely losing their mind. How do I know this? Well, I can tell you this from the heart because I ran into two of these students the last time I was back in China. So this was 8 years ago in my hometown of Jilin. Like I said before, this is more of a common trend in smaller cities in China. So I met two students. One was from a small African country called Djibouti. Another international student. So he's mixed. Well, he's not really mixed. He's so his father is black African American. He's from Chicago, and his mother is from Kenya, and he was born and raised in Chicago. And he told me that he got into the university at Jilin in my hometown. He got a 4-year scholarship for free. And he also told me that he had some great time with the local Chinese girls here. He even told me that that was the only reason why he accepted the scholarship to come to study in China. He told me that there's a very high chance that he will become a passport bro, and he will only date or marry interracially. And he does not want to date or marry another black woman.
Hold on. You guys hear that? You guys hear that? Brothers, y'all be talking too damn much, man. You already said that? Let me play that again. Hold on. My man said, man, I ain't gotta call a whiff of this Mandarin. I ain't got a whiff of this orange chicken sake. I'm done.
Scholarship
Hold
to
on.
come to study in China. He told me that there's a very high chance that he will become a passport bro, and he will only date or marry interracially, and he does not want to date or marry another black woman. I'm just telling you. So I got to hang out with these.
All right, so we're gonna go ahead, Danny. You wanna address that right there, brother?
Okay, so I think he's talking about like the African guy said like he's gonna like he gets enough preference in China where like he's gonna stay over here, and that seems to be true. Like there are a lot of Africans over here in China, y'all. Like they're trying really hard to stay here. So I know lots of guys are getting women pregnant, trying to lock women down. So people like to talk about, oh, Chinese people are racist, da 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 da. But there are tons of African guys they're not trying to leave China. They're trying to stay here as long as they can. So yeah.
Best of USA flight. Please stop downplaying racism in China. These people are sick. What do you guys say
Have
to
you
that?
been to China? Like, has this person been? Because like, if you look at the news, they're gonna say like, guys, I haven't experienced any racism to like. I'm trying to think like, okay, like, oh man, I experienced some really bad racism this week, or like, man, Chinese people are being really racist against me. It's like you can't just say these people. It's like we don't want as black people, we don't want people like stereotyping us, like putting us in the box with like the thugs and the criminals. So we shouldn't really do that to other groups of people, saying, oh, these Chinese people are sick. Like, really, you think that every Chinese person is racist and they hate black people? Like, do you think I would stay in the country if every person like hated me and like treated me badly? So I think you're kind of overblowing it.
Okay.
Two black guys for a little bit. And by the way, these two guys are massive. They're both roughly in that 6'3" range. They probably weighed anywhere between 220 to 240. So obviously you can see these guys from a couple miles away in China. They towered over everybody. And when I was hanging out with these guys, the other Chinese guys at the gym were telling me, they're like, oh my God, why are you hanging out with those two dirty ass guys? Don't you know that these black people, these people from Africa, they stink so bad, and they're coming in, they're sleeping with our women. These young Chinese guys, they were completely losing their mind because the fact that these black men came to China and they had a study partner and they could get a Chinese girlfriend. One important detail I want to follow up, I mentioned it before, in China they have all these public showers, right? They don't have any stalls for the shower, and when you walk in after your workout, so everything is completely exposed. You walk into the shower, right, and there's like 30 faucets. So all the guys are completely naked. They're showering right next to each other. Something quite interesting. These two black guys, they never once took their pants off, okay? They
Hey, BMT is breaking up some. Like it's not streaming very clearly.
Oh, it's not. Hold on.
It was lagging for a while.
Oh damn! It was running stream on my. Let me try it again. Okay.
Maybe if you went back like 15 seconds, I think it could be okay.
Wonderful Travels with a $4.99 super chat says, sounds like somebody is, I don't know, with his chick. Okay, shout out to you, Wonderful Travel with the $4.99 super chat. I think you meant you're saying somebody was messing around with his chick, and that's why he came up with this story. Okay. All right. All right. Let me scoot back a little bit. Let me know if this is Borgen, family. Let me know if this is Borgen out.
Never once changed or showered at the gym. After their workout, they just put on their jackets and they left right away. I have a theory about this, okay? So I found this thread on Reddit. For the people out there that's telling me that there are no women out there that's actually obsessed with length and girth, well, that's simply not true. I know plenty of white women that lives in Canada and the United States. Okay, they go to these places in the Caribbean, for example, Bahamas or Trinidad and Tobago or Jamaica. Okay, they're hiring black male escorts, and they will have sex with these guys while on vacation. This is 100% real.
This guy got to know our culture, bro. This guy got to be in America somewhere. He might be living in China, but he definitely know what's going on in America.
No, I think the deal it is with these two black guys. So I found this thread on Reddit where there are cases where a white woman is completely obsessed, with the big black mamba, and they want to have the full
Oh, he said the big black mamba
body, the leg shaking experience. So in some of these cases, for example, they will find the captain of the basketball team at their school. They will find a Tyrone or something. They will go on a date and things will get hot and steamy in the bedroom. However, when the black guy pulls on his pants, even though these women are expecting an 8 inches of big black mamba, what they ended up finding was that the guy actually has a 4-inch thin noodle string.
You gave me a teeny weeny.
Yeah.
I've discussed this in my videos previous week. There are some Chinese guys who are absolutely massive, who are 6'3", 6'4", 6'5", but I don't think there's a direct correlation between your height and your muscle mass versus your penis size. Some of these guys actually have a very, very small and thin noodle string. And in some of these cases, these white women, they're absolutely shocked by how small the black penis is.
All right. So this guy's up. He just went left. He talking about dude sizes and everything, man. That shit was hilarious, bro. He said the leg shaking experience. All right. Anyway, Judge Dredd says you're denying Asian racism and the Asian guy is exposing it.
Is the Asian guy talking about racism? Like, it seems like he's saying the black guys are having a great experience in China. Like, so what's he talking about?
Somebody said, how would he know about Johnson's, bro? Yeah, it went left. It went totally left when he came to but do you want to address anything? Because I'm gonna go ahead. That was pretty much the gist of the video. He's saying that women are assuming that these guys are packing and they're not packing. Africans are coming over there getting the Asian women in a prime. What do you say to all this?
I mean, I can't comment on I've never had these kind of conversations about guys with their junk size and he's talking about the guys.
You know what I mean about the African guys coming over there getting the women in a prime. I think he's just talking shit about the Johnsons and shit, throwing shots, but
yeah. So if he's saying hey, the schools provide an assistant, so they provide.
What he's basically saying is these schools, because they're getting funding from the governance over there in China, they're reaching out to Africans with these so-called study partners. Showing pictures, he showed photos of the African man, the Chinese woman, and saying that hey, you can pretty much attract. You can pretty much come go to school for free, get an Asian woman, and be happy here in China. That's what he's saying.
Yeah, I could believe that. They're probably not intentionally making it like some kind of escort thing, like the guys in the comment section are saying. They probably just say, hey, you come here, you'll have an assistant. They'll be helping you with your transition to school. Yeah. So, but do I think it's some kind of institutionalized, they're just throwing women at these foreign guys? I doubt that. Based off what I know about China, they're probably not doing that. They might have some kind of student assistants who can help your transition to help you with language stuff, et cetera, et cetera.
Some people say we are better off in Japan. Okay. All right. So guys, what I have here on the screen, we're kind of transitioning to the next video. This will be the final video. I want to shout out to everybody in the chat. We got 157 in here early today. Guys, do me a favor. Make sure somebody said escort teachers. Make sure to come hit that like button. All right. So this is right here. Let's talk about the real deal in Brazil. Now, this right here might be a little bit of some black pill stuff. If y'all saying this is some black pill stuff. Now, I will say, and shout out to these guys. Shout out to the Black Man's Option, Eric, Dennis Jean Pierre, my other brother G Dub, and the other brother I'm not familiar with, but I know the brother on the bottom right hand of the screen has lived in Brazil for a very long time in Sao Paulo, and I also know that Dennis Jean Pierre has been all over Brazil. And I want you guys to listen to what they said about black relationships in Brazil, and I'll say my 1-1 on the back end. All right. So let's see what they got to say about black relations in Brazil. Hold on. All right. Here we go.
Whereas, like you said before, they were doing it in sales, but now you're starting to see more of it embracing. I'm not Brazilian, I'm Afro-Brazilian, where they will all say we were all Brazilians at one point in time.
Well, you know what? Go ahead. What are you gonna say?
No, I was gonna ask you another question. I've been to Salvador Bahia a couple times, and one thing I noticed when I was there is that when you see a black couple, you rarely see a black couple with the same complexion.
Oh my God! Didn't we just talk about this, Eric?
Yeah, but that was behind the scene. I want to get you on record,
Eric. Didn't we talk about that a few days ago? Let me tell you what I saw.
Okay.
Man, I lived in Sao Paulo for 9 years. This is what I told Eric the other day. Man, okay, first of all, I have had to see, I'm sure you've all heard this idea that Brazil has the largest black population outside of Africa. Okay, I have had to pivot off of that position because there's too many people that are just racially indefinable for you to say that person is solidly black, even considering if they're light skinned and they have Afro features. Okay, I've had to pivot away from that, to be honest about this. The other thing is, when you live in a city like Sao Paulo, when you see the couples in the street, you're going to see majority white on white or white on mixed. Okay. When you see black couples, they're going to be a brown skinned black Brazilian with a light skinned black Brazilian. It's extremely rare to see two brown skinned people just walking down the street in Sao Paulo. When I wanted to see that, I had to go to this event called Feira Preta, where everybody's black. It's like a black expo event. But just walking down the street in Sao Paulo every day, I was like, wow. If you don't count black and mixed race or black and light skin, two different black people of different complexions, you rarely are going to see two clearly black people in Sao Paulo. That's was my experience. And so I didn't notice that as much in Salvador because so many more people are of African ancestry there. And for me, I can detect somebody who's black. Okay. So, but the complexion thing, he's pointing on with that. I saw that for years in Sao Paulo.
Also, do they, JB Design says, would you say black Brazilian women in general have adopted American strag culture, or do they behave like the Huxtables? Also, do they just do it for European men or black men too? Bros want to know.
Hey, man, okay, that's a very serious question. Okay, what I'm gonna say is, it's frustrating. Any black American who spends time in Brazil, you are going to be frustrated when you deal with how black Brazilians see this thing. And it's like, a lot of people reject the influence that African Americans have. And it's just like, look, we got our own culture here. Why do you guys think you have to be the center of blackness? And I agree with that. But my bottom point is that no matter how much organizing you guys do, no matter how many black businesses you do, no matter I'm black and I'm black and I'm black and I'm black and all of that, if y'all can't click, if y'all can't see the value of having black men and black women together, all of this is a huge waste of time. They still are enamored with white people. I see it at the root. I saw it. How many times, how many families I've seen in Sao Paulo go from jet black to white or something near white. I see it every day. And it's like, this is not going to work. I mean, you don't want to hear from an American, that's fine. But you have to realize it. And they're starting to catch that now. But I'm just almost wondering, is it too late?
It might be because how we said we like the Brazilian women with the afros, but they're not doing it for the black men. I don't know where I got this, where I read this from, but I see that the European white men like that because it's a fetish form. So the Brazilian women
yeah.
do the afro for them, not to attract us. It's to have them, the European men, have their fetish with them. And the killing part, I hear all these brutal stories about what they do to them. Send them to their friends, dog them out, and everything else. So they're not doing it for us. They're doing it for what's that word that they say? Better the race, because you want to lighten the race up or whatever.
Melhorar a raça, yeah.
Yeah.
It's tragic, man.
All right, so I want to stop it right there. All right, guys. I know guys don't want to hear that, but I've been saying this for quite some time. I lived in Brazil for 8.5 months, and I went to Brazil to date a Afro-Brazilian woman with the big afro and the exoticness, and I ended up dating a Brazilian Japanese woman because I saw kind of early on while I was out there, I was like, damn, these Afro-Brazilians are really checking for most of the white guys. Like the white guys are getting all the play out here. I'm getting play, but I'm getting play from the white Brazilian women. And most of the couples I see are all mixed couples. It's the biggest mixed culture I've ever seen in my life. Like rather most of even some of the black Brazilians that did have some bread, they had their stuff together. They were dating high yellow white Brazilian women for the most part. All right. Black Man Travel said all facts on Brazil. This is good that it's pointed out, man. This is kind of what it is. This is why I've been saying, as much as I love Brazil, I say most brothers are going to get the top tier women in Colombia and in the DR. That's where they're going to get the top tier Latino women at. All right. That's just my opinion. Some people can say it cap, but I lived out there. That's what I saw. And I was cool with a white guy out there. And this white guy, like one of the biker guys, but he was like an insurance guy. Man, he was running through black Brazilian women left and right, bro. Left and right. And I'm sitting here like, damn, you running through them, bro. I'm sitting here struggling trying to date the sisters out there in Brazil. They giving me attitude and shit. I'm like, oh, I ain't here for this. But he's running through them. He's having issues too, but he's least able to be with them physically, sleep with them, and kind of dog them out. He was going running through them too. All right. Style King says people were saying I was crazy. All right. My experience is only in Rio. I'm not talking about Salvador Bahia, guys. I know that's the big populace in Salvador Bahia. I'm talking about Rio. My man Style King was just in Brazil. He says no cap. Style King, if you want to pull up on the show, you're welcome to pull up to the show. As a matter of fact, and Danny, I know it's late over there, so if you want to hang out, you can. If not, I totally understand, bro. But I'm gonna drop a link in the chat because we're gonna chop it up about this.
Yeah, this is really interesting. It's really curious. Like I wonder like the reasons for this. Like maybe like we say breeding out, right? But do they just see like, hey, like do they actually think that white people are superior, or do they feel like, hey, if I get with a white person, it'll make my life better? I wonder, like, what is it, like a mix of reasons? So I want to know, like, it'd be nice if we could ask them, like, hey, like, what reason do you think, is it because you think you like them better, or is it think like they can just make your life better, or is it both reasons?
It's so weird to me because I assume when I saw all the black women out there in Brazil, the Afro-Brazilian women, and I saw all they little, I guess you want to say Afro-ish, marketing to a certain degree, all the afros, I assume that, okay, they like being black. It's our women that got the fake hair and the weave that don't really like being black. But I realized exactly what my brother said on the top right-hand corner. I forget the brother. I've met the brother 4 or 5 times. I'm sorry, I forgot that brother's name. But he was saying it was true. Like, they're not wearing that for us. They're wearing that for the white guys, Shout out to my man Jay Clyde says they were speaking facts, so fellas shouldn't be going there concerned about all the USA social racial relations crap. All right, shout out to my man is Jay Clyde. Fellas talk about exploring options overseas, but they go overseas and limit their options, worrying about race. Okay. Somebody said hundreds of years of propaganda. Now we've always said. Now we did mention before we went to this, Danny, that, okay, we understand that guys that are, super attractive in some levels, they might not have this issue. A guy that's on some Will Smith shit, he's going to pull up, he's going to get him left and right where they white, black. I mean, we've seen videos like that. The dude, King something, he's like 6'9" or some bullshit. You know, he goes wherever he's gonna pull. You know what I'm saying? All right, I'm gonna welcome to the show. Let's go to the show. What's going on? Let's go.
What's going on, man? What's going on, Danny?
What's good?
Hey,
What's
man.
good,
I've
man?
seen you before, man.
Yeah,
I've seen
yeah,
this
yeah,
guy on a
yeah.
few podcasts.
Yeah, did you change your name or something? You been on the show?
Yeah. I had a conversation with someone that I'm writing my book with, and they saw some of the videos that I was doing. It was like, yeah, that's a character in the book. You need to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I got checked. Someone is a businessman. He doesn't play around. He made a good point that the name that I had on there was a character from my book. So I was telling everybody, and what he told me, it was like, yeah, some of the things you're saying, man, is not a good idea. That's a pretty big character. So you should probably change that. So
Okay. Now let's go. Have you been to Brazil?
I haven't been to Brazil.
Okay, you haven't been to Brazil. Okay.
No.
Okay.
I was definitely gonna go. The time that I was thinking about it, when back in the early 2000s, like 2003, 2004, when you had the guy who was telling everybody to go out there. The one who died, I keep forgetting his name. I don't know why. I was watching him, and he had some good reasons of why we should go out there. But see, I had just got out of the Navy for a little while at that time. I got out and got back in, and I saw what was happening to me and the experience I had when I was overseas. And I know all the guys are racist. Everywhere I went, the guys was racist. I think I was mentioning it too. They always had problem with the military guys because we come over there, we bang their women, and we leave. And that's what people were kind of telling me. I think there's a little bit of truth in that. And at the same time, all the women liked us. We did not have a problem getting women when we came off that ship in our sailor uniforms. And I didn't really think too much of it because remember, I was a very young guy. But when I started going overseas in my second term, when I got back in the Navy, things were kind of different because, as the internet was getting bigger and bigger, going overseas for especially black men, or men in general, really, but let's just talk about black men. It started to change more and more and more. It went uphill, went downhill. It was doing this, and now it's starting to do this right here. And the reason why is because when anything that happens that's negative, even in the slightest way, because of the way social media works, it blows up like that. And now it's like wildfire. I mean, it blows up and it hurts us. And it affects us more than any other race. That's just the truth. And we all know what happened with those Marines. Remember those 3 Marines? The general that try to say, I don't know why these guys will go out and do this to this woman when they could just buy a girl in this country in Japan. Dumbest dude in the world. I don't know if you remember that. Y'all might you grown, you around my age. But at the end,
hold on, let's go. Hold on a second. Style King Marco, you there?
Hey, what's going on, fellas?
What's good, my brother? Now you just left Brazil, right?
Yeah, man. I'm glad y'all on this topic, man. It's a really good topic. I'm glad to see that I ain't the only one.
Okay, so what was your experience? Well, how long was you down there, and what was your experience in Brazil?
Well, I was in Salvador Bahia. I only went to Salvador. I was there for about 3 weeks. I was supposed to be there 4 weeks, but I spent like $4,000 trying to get up out of there because of the culture and what you're talking about.
Whoa, hold up, bro. So you spent $4,000 to leave?
Yeah, man. I had changed my flight. I spent extra money to change my flight. Then I missed the flight. Then they made me have to get a yellow fever shot. So it was a lot. It's a lot going on.
Okay, so did you have any incidents, or was you not feeling in Brazil? Like, why do you feel like you had to leave abruptly?
Well, it wasn't really like I had to leave, but it was just like the people. I couldn't really meet anybody from Brazil. Like it's so closed off. And then, like you were saying, I was paying attention to the people, and like you said, like the dark skinned people, and it's just a lot going on. I talked to a lot of people. They got a lot of feminism going on, but it's a different kind of feminism. It's a lot stronger than it is in the United States.
Facts.
It's
Facts.
along with colorism at the same time. So it's a lot going on mentally in their minds already. And for you, like me, as a foreigner, I'm just here to have a good time and learn the culture. So I'm trying to go out and speak to people, and I'm just getting such a negative response from a lot of the Afro Brazilians, whereas like the white Brazilians and the white Argentine women are happy to talk to you. They can't wait to talk to you.
Facts. That's so fast.
They
I
look good.
want to welcome to the show my main man Pablo Frescobar. Man, it's been a minute.
What's up, man? How you doing?
Man, I'm doing good, my man. I'm doing good. How's everything with you? Real quick, hold on. Let me get super chat real quick. Cornell McNeil with $2 super chat says he's speaking on brother Charles Tyler. Rest in power to brother Charles Tyler. All right, go ahead, Pablo Frescobar. You want to speak on this?
Yeah, man. You've been doing some fire shows lately, man. I've been enjoying.
Yes, he has.
I appreciate it. Appreciate it.
I think we as Black Americans, we also have to be more understanding of other countries' social and racial politics and histories. Let me give you an example.
Okay.
In the United States, after slavery was abolished, we had 100 years of Jim Crow segregation and miscegenation laws to keep the races separated.
Mm-hmm.
So your way of thinking is not necessarily right either.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Because you're thinking, why do all the blacks don't just stick together? Their culture, when slavery was over, when you're talking about Brazil, Colombia, DR, in their culture, when slavery was over, they said, okay, slavery's over, everybody just mix it up. Or in the case of Brazil, they said, let's whiten the country.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to understand, they didn't have a Black Power movement or a civil rights movement or any of these ideas that you now tote around in your head as a Black American. These are social and cultural political ideas that you are espousing. They have no exposure to it, none. And so for you to go down there and try to inject your ideas into them is a little bit arrogant. And it's kind of like the pot calling the kettle black, because you've been taught that you ought to separate yourself from the rest of the world. Doesn't mean that's right either. So
Okay.
just think about that.
Okay. Shout out to the single mom podcast with the $1.99 and super chat says, and old ninjas like BMT retired tricking overseas. All right. Appreciate the $2 super chat. Single mom podcast. I don't know where the hell that came from. We ain't even on that, but all right. Shout out to you. All right. Trey says streams been fire lately. Shout out to my man Trey in the building. All right. Judge Red said he did keep it a buck. All right. The Naughty American Expat says Rio is split to push up on women. Salvador Bayer isn't as wild. All right. My man is Jay Clyde in the building says it happens more when fellas put out bad experiences happen more than what fellas put out. Many fellas go to Brazil and the expectations aren't met because a lot of YouTubers are be capping about their Brazilian experiences. All right. I want to welcome my man who we got in the building. Oh, we got my man Daryl in the building. What's going on, Daryl?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we hear you loud and clear, brother.
Oh yeah. I spent about a week in Sao Paulo. I mean, maybe because I'm a little bit younger or look younger, I had a different experience. But I mean, just like you said, you went with a Japanese Brazilian, so I'm a little confused. Like,
well,
there's like so many options, to go.
No, I actually went to Brazil because I wanted to date a Afro Brazilian woman, an exotic Afro woman, and then it was a little different dating out there. I would say that it was different dating. I ended up dating a Brazilian Japanese woman, basically. All right.
Yeah, but like because it's like if you think about history, that could be what America was if something didn't change in history. They have the landmass, the location, all the different things going on. It just happened that it was Portugal that colonized instead of England, but I think culture, like the problem is the culture, because it's the same way. It's just when how U.S. history went one way, that history went the other way. So those things because their colorism was really like, you know, that kind of like South Africa. So it's hard.
What I took from it was it seemed like to me, and maybe somebody can check me at this. I don't know. I'm just saying from my experience being down there. Let me put somebody on mute. I'm hearing a lot of feedback. Is that you? That might. Okay.
It might be me.
All right. Okay. So from what I saw, it seemed like to me that they were pushing race mixing real heavy out there, whether it be the media, because that's what everybody was on. Like, so if I want to date a woman that looked like me per se, maybe I could, maybe I couldn't. I'm just saying in general, it seemed like everybody was matched up with somebody that was lighter or darker than them, from what I saw out there.
That was from the inception of like the country. They wanted to.
Yeah, I definitely understand the history about, you know, they imported a whole bunch of, they said Brazil was too black. They imported a whole bunch of Europeans in to lighten up the race. And I think it's still kind of prevalent there. That's what the guy is saying who's been living in Sao Paulo for 10 years. He's saying, man, they got an issue here. Everybody want to mix in. You don't really see a lot of black couples like that, like you would see in Atlanta or something. But I want to catch this comment by my man, it's Dre the Kid. It says, foreigners aren't exactly the first choice outside of tourist areas in most places across the globe. Gotta do more than show up with your American arrogance. Ain't got nothing to do with being black. All right. Shout out to my man, it's Dre the Kid. So he disagrees. Go ahead.
1,000%.
Let me say something real quick before I jump off. I have to pull back up to work.
All right, go ahead.
I appreciate y'all, and everybody's opinion counts, but at the same time, you got to go off of what people that's been on the ground are saying. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not even a dark-skinned person, but you know what I mean? Like, you just have to realize situational awareness is big. So just and then another thing, like, it's thousands of dollars. I spent $1,500 to go to Salvador. You know what I'm saying? So that's another thing, that the reason that people are trying to let other people know is not to belittle the people in Brazil. I don't care what they do with their politics. You know what I mean? Like, everybody has politics everywhere. So just as a black man, you have to be aware of where you're going and, you know, study up on that. If you don't mind having to deal with that, then, you know, that's fine. I just want people to be aware, and, you know, because when you think, like you said, people hype it up, and you go down there thinking you're just going to have a great time, and it's not going to be all, you know, you're getting away from your problems. You actually go into more problems when you go to places like that sometimes.
Yeah, I know a lot of guys don't want to hear that, but we just giving you a raw assessment of, you know, like you just heard it from the dudes that lived in Brazil for over a decade, bro. You know?
Yeah. I appreciate you, man. Shout out BMT, man. Thank you so much.
Shout out to you, bro. Shout out to you. The domestic foreigners in the building. What up, domestic foreigner? Okay, hold on. Let me take you off mute. All right, go ahead. Hold up. I think you put yourself back on mute. Hold on. Yeah, you're on mute, domestic foreigner. You're on mute. All right, hold on. Okay, maybe he'll come back in. You want to hop in there, Danny?
I mean, the stuff you guys are telling me. So BMT, like, I sent you a photo of like some guy posted a girl in the group, but this was in Colombia. She was like a light skin, white skin, curly hair. You know, for me, I thought she was pretty beautiful. You were saying, oh, she's average, man, and I showed her to another guy who was also in Colombia. He said, yeah, man, she's average. Like, I was in a restaurant, I saw three waitresses, way better than her. So like, I don't know, like, you know, those kind of white skin, like Colombian girls, I feel like if you know, if guys are like intermixing and like, you know, I guess it might be similar in Brazil. Like, what do you think? Like that girl I sent you about, the Colombian girl I sent you, is that typically what guys are also doing in Brazil? Like those are the mestizas that guys are dating?
Not from my experience. Not from my experience. Most guys I see in Brazil are just like dating for long periods of time, in my opinion. I don't really see a lot of guys coming out of Brazil in relationships like that versus the guys in Colombia. I mean, when I was in Brazil for the months I was in, I was like, yeah, dating in Colombia is way easier, for at least for brothers, in my opinion. That was in my opinion.
From that word there, BMT. That word gets us in trouble. Remember, Austin?
What do you say? Dating for brothers is easier?
No, we're using the word easy.
Well, I ain't Austin. I'll be all right.
No, you don't have to be. I'm just saying. I think we really should stay away from that word.
No, it depends on the context. If I say dating is
Absolutely.
easier in Colombia, then I don't think anybody would have an issue
Well,
with
no,
that.
you got a good point, but the word can be misconstrued. Like that's what they did to Austin. And speaking of Austin, that girl who went after Austin was considered a feminist and a racist, from what I understood.
Yeah, we pulled. I mean, that was a while ago, but yeah, we pulled her car. She was just trying to make a little political move
Yeah. Well,
and
she got her card
use
pulled,
him.
but how many think like her over there? I mean, does she have a good following? She had a lot of followers. I mean, how rare is she? Is she considered rare?
Yeah, but we don't want to bring that back up, brother.
I'm not trying to bring
years
up
in the
that.
past, man.
What I'm saying is it kind of goes in the context that we were saying. Because the thing about what we're talking about now is Brazil has a race problem, or doesn't it? Or is it just a cultural thing that we American black men need to understand, because it's a little more complex than you look like this, you look like that. There's a racial issue. Stay in your lane.
Okay. I got my man. This Dre the Kid says dudes wouldn't have so many issues and confusion if they watch more than Coke bottles in vids, using that as a guide to a foreign location. Don't learn the language or culture, just showing up. I mean, there's some truth to that, but I think at some point we all, get attracted by certain videos on YouTube and all kind of pull up, and like everybody just don't know the language before they get there.
That's not fair though, for him to say that.
Yeah, Drake be on one, man, sometimes.
Yeah, that's not that's
Drake
not
be on one sometimes.
And the reason why is because they said you're going on this and going on that. It's like, what are we gonna go on?
Mm-hmm.
We all get information from people who travel. That's why that's why they make such good money. That's why they get such good traction. That's why this goes. I mean, that's why you do so well on YouTube as a traveler, just going places and talking about where you've been.
Mm-hmm.
That's why this happens for so many people. It's because there's a lot of people who want to invest in people doing this so they can get this information and better make a judgment. And if they want to go over to the country, that's what the whole travel thing is supposed to be about. Danny goes into China. I'm saying China's racist as hell and those people are sick. And I don't want to be.
Oh, that was you that made that comment. I didn't know that.
Of course, don't you remember the tag name? Me and Danny's been going. I'm on Facebook. We've been going at it for a little bit.
But have you been to China?
I have been to China.
How long was you there?
I was there for a couple of weeks. However, to be fair to Danny, I particularly didn't experience racism because I stayed very secluded in a Hubei province where I was. I was there on pure business, and I was skating. I was really trying to, make sure I don't get in too much because I was being paid to be there. I was there on business, but I did experience it. However, the other thing that plays into Danny's half is I lived in Seattle for a very long time. Every Chinese girl I met that came from Vancouver was gorgeous every single time. They were gorgeous and they were into me. Every single one just about that I crossed in Seattle was racist as racist can get. In Connecticut too.
Danny, you want to respond to that, brother?
I've heard different things about American Asians and like those Western Asians. Like I think the people who go over there, they're probably like the rich Chinese, and rich Chinese don't necessarily have like maybe the highest moral standards. Just to put it indirectly. But I don't know, man. Like honestly, like I haven't had like like there are tons of Africans here, bro. Like I think if they were getting really bad treatment, like I don't think they would stay here. As like they would be they're fighting to stay here. Like these guys don't want to leave. Like like China, like they do not want to leave. Like they trying as hard as they can. And for me, if I was experiencing, and just like life, man, like life here is really good, bro. Like it's like the stuff the media says. Like you think like women here are like super racist. Like they aren't. If I was experiencing that, guys, I would say it. But like I can live. I have a pretty good choice of where I want to live. Like I could be in Thailand right now if I wanted to, but I'm choosing to stay in China. And I just think like a lot of people, they I don't know, man. Like If some guys maybe have a problem with racism, like,
How many
maybe my situation
ethnic
could be
groups are
different.
in China?
Yeah, but at the same time, Danny, you notice a lot of videos on YouTube about the way Africans are treated in China, especially during COVID. It was very prevalent, and it's not like that's new treatment that they have out there. And the men gatekeep. The women may like you, just like I said, in a lot of countries that I've gone to, the men who gatekeep that don't like you there, just like they do in Argentina, the men gatekeep, but the women like us. So if the men gatekeep, it doesn't matter if the women like you or not, because you're still going to have a hard time. You're still going to be very, very, very limited on how you can move around in that country. Now, I do know that there are people with certain characteristic and personality traits that can communicate very well and have the ability to move freely throughout a country, even though that country has been known to hate that type of person. I consider you someone who can do. I watch your videos. You do know how to move and communicate with them over there, and they like you better. And I've seen a lot of dudes with videos, and like every single other person that went to this country, just about has the worst experience. But there's one person is like, no problem. They can speak the language. They have no problems. But you have to understand that they don't want to talk the negative parts because they're doing so well. They're making so much money, and it's.
Who is James? Are you go by James?
Yeah, me. Those are people who come from Raise channel. I got a group of haters, so they came over here.
Okay.
But they get off
they going
on
in. I'm sitting here like, who the hell is James? Okay.
So the haters from Raise channel are gonna come and try to convince you to throw me off because I make them feel inferior when I speak.
Well, to your point, then, if there are people like you're saying who, because they can, a word I like to use, they can culturally assimilate better than others. Is it racism, or is this person better able to assimilate into the culture than someone else who has difficulty doing that?
Facts. That's exactly what I'm saying about Danny right now. And if you look at his videos, you could tell he does very well moving about in China. He does. And like I said, I've had experience. I've gone to a city, moved because I lived in a lot of different cities, and I'll say, "Oh my God, y'all gotta come out here," blah blah blah. And they be like, "You did well out there," and I go, "Yeah." And they be like, "Man, I was out there, my boy was out there, and this, that, and the third." Other people called me, telling me, blah blah blah. Everybody had a horrible experience, but I had an amazing experience, and I'm sitting there like, "What can I say?"
Okay, I want to welcome.
I'm not gonna try to make it seem like I'm right. I don't need to be right. I'm just.
I got you.
Hey, let me get in there for a second, BMG. Let me get in there for a second, one really quickly. So when you see stuff in the media about like Africans in China, they don't tell you the whole story, man. Like, yeah, like is there racism against Africans? Yeah, but we need to also look at maybe some reasons why there might be racism against Africans in China. Unfortunately, there are a lot of Africans in China who they're kind of doing illegal, sketchy stuff. Like a lot of Africans in the Guangzhou area, they might be living on illegal visas. Africans are coming to China selling drugs. Like I know an African guy who was a club promoter in my city, and for some reason he was also selling drugs on the side. And the girls he sold drugs to, they got busted and they snitched on him, and he got deported. So it's stuff like that. Like on the one hand, it's like, okay, Chinese people are racist. Are Africans like 100% victims, and like there's like no like accountability, like it's all like they're all victims? I don't think so, man. Like when you're actually on the ground, you hear all kind of stories that you don't hear in the media. So like there are like unfortunately Africans who are out over here kind of not giving off the best image. In terms of gatekeeping, like local guys gatekeeping, they can't gatekeep if you're out here cold approaching. Like when I approach a girl on the street, maybe some Chinese guy might try to cock block or something, but it's like unless they're like in a private, secluded nightclub, they can't really gatekeep the women from you because like the women are gonna walk out eventually. And it's like when women are out on the street, I've been cold approaching women for years, man. It works really well for me. So yeah, like you might be gatekeeped if you can't enter like a Chinese club. Like it's a Chinese only club, but it's not just black, it's the fact that you're not Chinese. So it happens to black, white, everybody. If you're not Chinese,
they have clubs like that out there?
Yes.
Yeah, there are some clubs where like they say no foreigners allowed. Because like foreigners, we aren't spending money like Chinese guys. Chinese guys are out here trying to spend tons of money Like they're popping bottles. They do that to impress women, right? For us foreigners, we go to the club, maybe we try to talk to women, but Chinese guys, like their method of getting women is just spend the most money, and the club provides them women, and like they try to negotiate with the women, try to negotiate something, But yeah, so they aren't making as much money off us foreigners, and plus we go in, we take the women, we get into fights with the Chinese guys, so it just causes the club problems. Like if foreigners were spending money, it wouldn't be an issue. Like they would love to have us come over, but they know foreigners aren't spending no money, and we're taking the women from the guys who are spending money, so we're just causing problems. And yeah, and last point, I don't really have an issue hanging out with other races. I don't really, I'm not one of those types of black guys who like I gotta be around black people or I'm uncomfortable. I feel pretty comfortable just interacting with many different types of people. So yeah, that's just me. Like I grew up military, moved around a lot, lived in Germany for 4 years as a kid. I just always felt I never really felt like, hey, I need to be around black people. Like I've been around Asians, white people. It's cool to me. I know how to move between different, groups.
Okay, well that is a little different though. I didn't know they had. I mean, I heard something about them discriminating because some guy told me that in Thailand, but that is a little different.
Yeah, they do in Thailand. And just to
hold on, let's go. Hold on, let me get the other guy on the show. Felipe, you want to go ahead and go? You just got in the room.
Hey, great to see you again, BMT. Terrific topic. Salute to the panel. Great discussion. I just wanted to pop in for a second and, share what my view is about this a little bit. That one of the things, and I think Pablo Frescobar touched on this, is coming to a situation, a different country, with the frame of the ability to assimilate. And that can be a lot of different things. One thing is language ability. If you don't speak the language in that country, you've already got a barrier, right?
Facts.
So like in my case, I speak Spanish and I speak French. So usually if you don't speak one of those languages, you need a bridge language. And what are those bridge languages? So English is a bridge language. French is a bridge language. Russian very often is a bridge language. If they don't speak your language, they may speak that bridge language. So you got to make sure that you have at least one of those in your toolkit. Why does that matter? Because that affects the frame in which they communicate with you. If they have a hard time being able to have a basic conversation already, that's somewhat off-putting. The other thing is coming into it with the idea that I'm going to try things, meaning that when you go to these places, that they have different cultures, different food, different customs. And so when you go in and you're like, oh, I'm hesitant about this, or I got to do it like that. And in some cases you can be insulting them. And in other cases, you can really run into a thing where they're trying to share and connect with you, and you're blocking, if you will. And so what am I talking about? Because as you know, I lived in Latin America, but I also have spent extensive time in Asia. And, as a backdrop, that my wife is actually Asian. So the issue is all of these places may have some sort of discrimination or racism or some predisposition about blacks. They may, because there are other blacks that have been there, whether they're from Africa or the Caribbean or wherever. But that can be overcome by what you bring to the table, by your attitude, by your frame, by your energy. And so, and I think Pablo Frescobar was hitting it right on the nail. I mean, the nail on the head there to say, well, when you come into the context, like I put it in the chat, in most of Latin America, they have a culture to a certain extent that was towards race mixing. Why? Because the Spanish and the French the Portuguese, they did not bring their wives when they settled those colonies.
Facts.
So they created laws to facilitate mixing with the slaves and also with the indigenous people. That's part of the culture. And you can look, it's called Las Casas. And if you look, You can Google it. There's a pyramid that they set up the classes based on this, and also the different mixtures. There are like 16 different mixtures. That was not true in the Anglophile colonies. The English brought their wives with them. So while they did mix with the slaves, it had a whole different game because they had their wife in-house and then they were going out and dealing with the slaves or with the native people. So the whole frame of racism is different. And I guess what I was trying to go towards is, I don't know, I recommend this for people. If you're going to go to a country, try to engage with those people in the country that you're in. So like if you're in the United States and you're going to go to China, try to engage with mainland Chinese before you even go. So you have some, now that's not going to be dispositive of how China will be, but it can give you some window in before you get there of some of the custom.
Okay.
So I don't want to over talk it, but I wanted to throw that out there and let the panel respond.
Okay. All right.
Well, it should be always safe to assume that there's a possibility that there might be racism. It's how I live my life. And I'm not going to.
I'm not saying that you shouldn't. I'm saying what does that mean for you once you assume that? Let's say it's an absolute racist situation. Then what?
You misunderstood me. Just hear me out.
Okay, hold on, real quick. It's Dre the Kid says exactly. It's more of a foreigner issue in these places, and racism, like we are used to back home, they don't even have the same racism roots as we do in these places to think like that.
I'll give a perfect example. BMT. I know you probably seen some of my videos. I went to a cabalgata in Colombia, which is an event called a horse parade. Cabalgata transfers into horse parade.
Yes, I seen that.
And what it is, it's the nightclub mixed with horseback riding. Think about it. You're riding on a horse for miles up into the mountains, past waterfalls and all this stuff. It's beautiful women all around on horseback. Things are bouncing up and down, and it's a beautiful sight, okay? So we're coming back into town after being up in the mountains and drinking and eating and riding horses and drinking while riding horses. It's crazy, okay? But it's a lot of fun. And coming back into town, a couple of the locals saw me in this same outfit that I have on here. If you look in the background, you can see a young lady on horseback behind me in my avatar. One of the local men said, "Negro in negro." And what he meant, now, I could take offense with my American sensibilities when he said negro in negro, which
Black
means
on black?
black in black, because I had on all black. I got on a black hat, black shirt, black jeans, and black boots. What he was doing was paying me a compliment on my outfit. Because I'm riding this horse, this black man on a horse in all black. And he was like, negro and negro. And so he was complimenting me on my attire. But I could have taken the route like Let's Go is saying and assume that it was racism, but it's not. But you would have to begin to expose yourself and be into the culture and understand tone, inflection, and the situation and the context.
You know what?
No, I disagree, Pablo.
That's 100% correct. So I'm sorry I misunderstood you. That's 100%.
Hold on, who disagreed? Who said they disagree?
I disagree with that.
Go ahead.
And the reason why I disagree is because I knew about negro when I was like 8 years old, because I grew up in Bridgeport, Connecticut, where I had people from Spain, all my friends from Spain, from like all over the world, from India, in my own little neighborhood. I grew up was seeing the rainbow. You know what I'm saying? So I'm a little privileged in that sense. But at the same time, when you go to another country, you're supposed to just sit back and know that you're going to experience something that may trigger something in you as a grown man. It's going to trigger something in you because of past experiences. You ever know the stained glass theory? You don't have to go to another country to explain the stained glass theory. My experiences are different than yours. Yeah, me and BMT are black, but I didn't live his life and he didn't live mine. If one experience comes to both of us, we're going to react completely different. Culturally speaking, there are a lot of similarities in their stained glass over there. However, that Brazilian stained glass could be just as similar as that American stained glass out of Brooklyn. That's how you got to look at it. However, when I say I'm going to another country and I'm going to assume there's a strong possibility that there might be racists, it's no different than saying if I go to a different hood, there's a strong possibility I may look like a dude that might I may look like an op, or they're going to assume I'm an op because I just don't move the way they do. It's the same thing. It
Okay.
is the same thing.
Okay, I want to give a shout out to my man Wojo in the building. Says, or just try to learn Spanish. Shout out to my man Wojo. It's Dre the Kid tapping in once again. Says, I respect dude's opinion. Let's go. But that ish sounds crazy as hell outside the states. That stuff don't exist. Leave the states back home. LOL. Duh.
What is he talking about?
Hey,
It's a lot.
hey, wait, just to get in there really quickly, guys. So for me, I don't like getting offended. I don't like feeling bad. I don't like being angry. So for me, if I choose to approach things pretty lightheartedly. Like, for example, like a lot of us today, let's go BMT, me, we get roasted by guys in the chat talking trash. I could get offended by that, or I could kind of just laugh it off and be like, not take it too seriously. Like there's always a reason to get butthurt about something. Like you can choose to get offended about things that, people do. But like, for me, I don't want to live that kind of life where I'm at the mercy of some random person, like, ruining my day or pissing me off. Like someone calls me a Negro and I get like really offended. Like I don't want to live life that way.
Well, no, I'm not really talking about getting offended. In other words, you know how they say, keep your head on a swivel, Danny, you know that. I'm sure you heard that a lot, being in the military. Why do they say that?
Because something bad could happen. You want to be on alert. Like maybe you're in a risky situation where your life could be a danger. Stuff could pop off at any moment, right?
Isn't it fair to say that what you guys are, I'm not going to try to jump, but kind of what you guys are trying to process to me is the same as, dude, you don't got to keep your head on a swivel. Don't come with all that Navy or that military mindset. You know what I'm saying? Isn't that the same?
I think hold on. I don't think neither one of you guys are wrong. It's almost like you're saying look for it, and Danny's saying don't look for it, or he doesn't really care because he doesn't really care to recognize it. Is that what you're saying?
Not look.
I'm saying don't be offended by it. Like don't get if someone does something, I get cock blocked by a Chinese guy. Like a Chinese guy tries to cock block me. I could get really offended and angry. Like, oh man, this guy's just jealous. Da da da. Or I could just say, okay, he's probably just upset that he doesn't get any. He's probably, I frame it to myself a certain way. I don't like, I don't necessarily like what happens. The point is, I'm saying don't get. If you can avoid getting anger, doesn't help you. Like it's unproductive, or feeling bad is unproductive. Like, okay, you don't like what someone did. Okay, you want to prevent something bad happening. You keep your head on a swivel. Like if you're in a dangerous situation, I'm basically saying when stuff happens, try to keep a good attitude. Like don't get like upset about stuff. Like that's what I'm saying.
What I was saying is I'm not looking for the racism behind every situation. You know what I mean? I'm not looking to take offense, at everything that might happen to me abroad is not because I'm black.
Right. And what I'm saying,
what I was trying to say,
assume there's a possibility that these things might happen. Assume that you might get cock blocked. Assume there might be racism there, and walk carefully. That's why we say, if you move a certain way, you'll be right. Isn't that what they always say about dudes traveling overseas? Why would they say that?
Well, can I say something, Mr. Let's Go? I think that you're raising a good point, and we would never And I don't want to give the message, don't pay attention, don't look for racism because it's not possible. I'm not saying that. What I am saying is context matters, and that the ability to speak the language makes a huge difference on understanding the context that you're in. So in the case of what Pablo Frescobar said, like, for example, there are several different ways that you can be referred to as a Black person. You can be referred to as negro. You could be referred to as moreno. You could be referred to as mayate. Okay, now.
Oh no!
That last
with the mayate.
The last one is
Please,
horrible.
please.
Yeah. So you know what it means.
Yeah.
That one. If you hear that, look, it's time to knuckle up. But negro, in and of itself, depending on the context, can be a term of affection, depending on what country are we talking about? Are we talking about Colombia? Are we talking about Brazil?
Okay, but Felipe, we hear you on that as far as, you know, somebody might be mistaking a term or two, but we're talking about more so like microaggressions, more so like, you know, when I give you an example. When I was in Brazil, I felt like the white Brazilian women had a habit of jumping me in line. To me, that's kind of like a racist microaggression, because they wouldn't do that. Like, literally, when I was in Brazil at the Claro one time, I'm in line, and the white Brazilians kept trying to jump me out of all the other people that's in line. I'm like, wait a minute, why the fuck they keep trying to jump me? To me, that's a racist microaggression, because they chose the Black guy to kind of get in front of. But then they recognized I was American. They was like, oh shit, this nigga American. Let me. Either he don't know, so he's not accepting of the social rules that we have. So I'm gonna let it go, or it's like, okay, he's American, so maybe, you know, it's that other thing. But I'm just saying, it's not always hearing a term or two. Like, we get it, we know that it's some racial terms all around the world, but it's just these little microaggressions. Case in point, some people might say that, Danny, outside the club, they're saying that, oh, it's just all foreigners. All right, okay, well maybe I'm the only Black guy out here they're not letting in the club. I would have an issue with that. I wouldn't care if I don't throw money or not. They don't know if I'm throwing money or not, so I would have an issue with that. I would say, well, they're not letting me in the club because I'm Black. You know, that's what we're saying about microaggressions, that you might want to be recognized. Even though we're off subject, because we're talking about dating per se, but now we kind of go into the racial thing. But that's what he means.
Yeah, I want to respond to directly what you said, because I think it's a good point. And there are microaggressions, and they can be egregious, and depending on the context, you may have to address them. But let's go to what Danny was talking about. I do know in Japan and in a couple of the other Asian countries, but definitely in Japan, they do have places that are for Japanese only, Thai only, or for Chinese only. And that's just, it's not just Black, it's no foreigners. And there are different reasons for that, which I'm sure Danny has elaborated on. But in Latin America, yes, that there are issues about Black people being disregarded, and Black people being abused, and Black people being mistreated. You know, they're indigenous Black people, and if they can distinguish, you as well. But the issue then is, you got to decide in which context are you going to step forward and say, I'm not going to tolerate that, and in which context is it, I got to see what this is, but I got to look at the larger thing. Meaning, for example, I told you the story when I was living in Mexico, and in Acapulco, they have various clubs where the girls there are part of the club. They're hired there to get the guys to spend more money, et cetera, right? And my buddy, who was my neighbor, who's Mexican, we went and we were talking to the girls, and they liked us, and these bouncers came and grabbed us. And they were like, hey, man, you know, these girls aren't for you. They were there to attract foreigners and to get them to spend more money. And they interpreted us to be the local Latins, although obviously I'm American, and that's not what they were there for. Now, I could have been like, hey, man, you know, this is racist or this is classist, but eventually we got back in there and it was fine. It's just a
damn
thing.
all
You
that.
gotta,
I'm making a scene. I'm making a scene out there. Y'all ain't like my black ass in the club. I'm making a scene. Fuck that. You gonna let me in this goddamn club? God damn it!
I
All right, let me
experienced
catch
this
this.
in
Let
New
me catch
York
the super
City,
chat
bro.
about the black Muslim with $10 super chat says most poor people will look at black men and think he's faster, stronger, and smarter. But at least I'm white. They throw those slurs at us like last ditch effort. You should see their sadness and laugh. All right, the black Muslim with $10 super chat.
Man,
Appreciate
God,
that.
that BS.
All right, hold on. It's Dre the Kid's in the building. What's going on, Dre the Kid? Oh, let me take you off mute. Hold on, my bad.
Oh no! Yeah, I was about to say.
All right,
But
we in here today. You gonna have some
Hey,
smoke, Mister. Let's go. What's going on, Dre?
what's going on, BMT and panel? How y'all doing?
We doing well, man.
Chilling.
Damn. Okay, I heard some feedback. Who's the feedback coming from?
It's me.
Is it?
Everybody mute and check up. All right, let me go mute too. Whatever.
Dre, I think that might be you.
Switch this.
Okay. All right, let me catch the super chat while he switches that. Crypto bro with the $9.99 super chat says, which country has been black men treatment? Not simply tolerated, but an advantage to be black man. White men race boost is so strong. Some places black men have no play. Y'all understand? Hold on. Let me read that one more time, Crypto bro.
Yeah, I know.
And I appreciate the $10 super chat. He says, which country has been black men treated best? Is that what you're saying?
I think so, yeah.
Okay, not simply. Okay, which country has black men been treated best? Not simply being tolerated, but an advantage to be a black man. Okay, white men race boost is so strong in some places. Black men have no play. Okay, well, it's supposed to be Africa.
I got a quick
but
response to that, and it'll be quick.
I don't even think it's Africa. I don't think it's not even Africa.
It might be BMT. You know what's going on in Africa. We don't like to admit it, but it's just true. No
Shit, them white
product
boys
in
getting all the play in Africa.
Let me break something real quick. No product in the history of mankind has been uplifted and glorified as the white man's face.
Uh-huh.
And no product in human history has been crapped on and downgraded as the black man's face.
Yeah, we don't. I mean, we don't control the standard of beauty. That's number one, and we don't control our own media. So that's going to be apparent. Shout out my man, Good Time Greco. He's also a mod. He says, good job, BMT. Talking about race will always get them going. I'll post your cash out. They'll love to donate to this stuff. Shout out my man, Good Time Grego. All right, go ahead, Dre.
I like this topic.
All right. How the mic going now?
Nah, you perfect, bro. You perfect.
All right, my bad.
That was racism, man. That was racism. They were trying to hold you back. They were trying to hold the black man back.
No, they trying to. Hey, the
Man,
man,
the man was
down,
holding you
dog.
down.
Man was holding you down, dog.
I ain't even in the country, man. They still trying to get me. But shout out to Grego. But yeah, I was just trolling in the chat a little bit, But I understand where Let's Go coming from, and I think that a lot of us, whether we want to admit it or
Hold
not.
on, Dre. Don't come in here with that peace shit, man. You had smoke over the chat. Come on with that peace shit, man.
I think all of us have that in us, but where I draw the line is at being aware of that it's there and knowing how to turn it off, and not when I come in contact with somebody and they're like, hola negro or mi negrito or stuff like that. I don't be like, oh shit, he just called me a nigga, stuff like that. Or if I get treated a particular way out in public here in Colombia, it ain't because I'm black or any other country I've been to. It's almost never because I'm black. It's more I'm American than me being black. I'm the foreigner in this location than me being black.
Yeah, you definitely have to make sure that when you're doing it, when I'm doing and being cautious and everything, which I've been built like that. I went in the military when I was 17, like Danny. We were babies when we went in. It's instilled in our DNA. You can't shake it off. And part of mine is always assuming there's a possibility that I might be surrounded by danger. And I have experienced a lot of racism. That's why I keep trying to tell people. That's why I like talking about this topic.
Are you saying you experience a lot of racism worldwide or just in America?
I've experienced a lot of racism growing up. Ever since I was a little kid, I experienced a lot of colorism and I experienced a lot of racism. And when I say racism, I've experienced a lot of racism from Uncle Ruckuses. I've experienced a lot of them. I just have, y'all. a lot more than a lot of people. Because every time I talk to somebody, I'm
Well,
not.
let's identify some of the countries that you've been in that you've experienced racism.
Sure. I've experienced racism. I've experienced racism in Thailand with Chinese. Go figure. I experienced racism in Spain. I experienced it in France, and I experienced it in Italy. I experienced a little bit in Turkey, but I don't think the people who are giving us a hard time and calling us the N-word loudly, just like in Italy, we took care of that. I don't think they were Turkish. Like I said, I'm going to Turkey now.
But what would have been the situations you were in? Let's say I've been in Turkey. Now that'd be extremely odd for them to just.
So I got out of the military in 2013.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so that was the end of my military career.
Now the last time I was in Istanbul, I was in the government attire also, and I mean, again, if you're gonna get any dirty looks, uniform? Yeah, and if you're gonna get any dirty looks, a lot of times it ain't necessarily because you the black person in that uniform. They see America and they don't like America. You the American.
That's true. I know. No, I know. I'm aware. Like I said, sometimes what they would call us the N-word. So, like I said, I think they may not have been Turkish, because a woman who had said, don't worry, I'm going to call the police. She said, I don't think they're from here. That's all I know. And it was a weird situation, but I don't, like I said, you go on what your experiences are. And like I said, I'm going back to Istanbul in a couple months. So
quick question. You don't think it's unusual that you're having all of these situations?
Of course.
Incidents?
I know it's different. Yeah.
Because you got guys on this panel who have traveled the world for a long time and been a lot of different places. And I don't think very few of us have had all of these situations. Of course, I've had,
well, fair. It's fair.
But
I just made sure that people understood that I understood that concept earlier when I was talking about Danny's experience. But you're an old timer, you know what I'm saying? So Pablo, that one man can go somewhere and have an amazing experience, but 30 others can go right after you and have the worst experience. And
you know what?
Like this. Passport bros are notorious for going on panels and talking about the same thing.
All right, hold on, let's go. I want to say something real quick too. I remember being down in Medellin, and there was this brother. He was ex-military, and we was in the club, and he was telling me all these racial incidents that he had been in. And he was like, "Man, you ain't had no problems out here in Medellin." And I'm like, "Bro, not a one. Like, I cannot identify not a one. My ex-girlfriend was Paisa back in the States. She told me one really like that. Like, I didn't have any, but in his eyes, Medellin was one of the most racist cities in the world. And I couldn't believe it. I'm just like, bro, I've been living here 4 or 5 months. I ain't seen, they not really just, it don't seem like their culture is based on that. Maybe I'm missing something, but I just didn't see it. So you are right in that assessment where I felt like he was looking for incidents that would be racialized versus just having, just normal incidents.
Yeah, through that lens, we could have a lot of these experiences. We could, through that lens that Let's Go had, a lot of these experiences that you may have that's just flat out difference of culture, to where I'm standing in line, and matter of fact, I was in the airport in Istanbul, and a group of Indian guys behind me just reached all over me, knocked me into the counter.
Tourists for that shit. They were tourists for that shit, man.
Now I could have turned around and said they did that because I'm black. They racist. Nope. They racist as hell. But that's just how they are. Still rude. they do similar to here in Colombia, but they do that to other Colombians too.
Yes.
Can I say something really quick, and then I'll pass it right to you, Mr. Let's Go. That in the United States, it's my view that Black people experience a PTSD from the kind of constant microaggressions and abuses that we experience. And so to a certain extent, we have to work on that when we go overseas, because we carry that with us. And it's not necessarily our fault that we had this experience in the United States. That said, I don't want to minimize anything that Mr. Let's Go experience. I believe him 100%. That being said, I lived in Italy for 3 or 4 months, and I had the best experience there. If anything, the issue that they had with me was I wasn't learning the Italian quick enough, so I would speak Spanish, which I know that they can understand. Spanish and Italian are like sister languages. So they would give me a little beef about that, of like, no, you got to learn our language, whatever. But in terms of, to the topic of the show, wonderful experiences with the women. No problems. I just got back from Turkey 2 weeks ago, and
do tell.
Yeah. I was in Turkey and I was in Greece, and wonderful experiences. That extremely well treated. But here's the thing: part of it is spending the money to be in spaces where you be well treated because you spent money to be in a place to be well treated. And some of it is understanding, like what Dre the Kid said, that some of these groups in the countries that they come from are very pushy, and I don't want to label this group or that group, but the country, like if you've got 1 billion people in that country, they may be a little bit more aggressive in their approach to social interaction than someone that came from, say, Scandinavia, where there are very few people in the countries themselves. So I just wanted to throw that out there, but I don't want to minimize what Let's Go was saying. I understand his point. And there are issues. I don't want to say that there aren't issues with race in these countries. There are. But I really do believe, and this is my major point, it's the energy that you bring to it as well. As I said, I lived in Italy. I got along well in Italy, met lots of Italian women, did very well there. And, I just came back from Turkey. No problems whatsoever. But,
What part?
I don't want to.
I'm going to Istanbul. I'll be there for 3 months.
Beautiful place.
All right, I got a super chat here by QB Passport Flexion, $2 super chat. He says Pablo is a sugar dater dough LOL. How you gonna come at the OG like that? How you gonna come at the OG like that, Pablo?
I know you got to read the hater super chats too, but man, I wish you didn't. That's
Hey man, hey, that's the show. That's the world we live in, brother. That is the world that we live in. Shout out to my man Wojo in the building. Says I didn't have any problems in Istanbul. So if you had this racial incident in Istanbul, Let's Go. Why are you going back for so long, brother?
No, because I think it was rare. Looks like he said. Look, I'm not no young wet behind the ears. I know how the world works, and man, if there's anyone who can understand how things work, it's me. I mean, in my surroundings. I'm the one who's always trying to help people out, better understand how to deal with their surroundings. I know that if you go somewhere, one person having experience, and some person having experience. Look, I am Marwan. BMT, you went to India, right?
No, I have not been to India. Don't want to go to India.
I think I'm confusing you with someone else. But I do know there's a few in our circles who went to India. I am Marwan went to India. And I got to tell you, when I saw him, the way those kids were treating him, did y'all see that video? You please go look at I am Marwan's video, the way those Indian kids were treating him. I literally mentally put myself in that situation, and I was sweating, literally sweating in my office looking at that, and just couldn't. And there was nothing he can do. Nothing he can do. Absolutely nothing. And there was a lot of them. They followed him everywhere he went.
Indians are hella racist, bro.
I'm sorry. What?
Indians is hella racist over there.
Yeah, I know. But what I'm trying to say is there were other people who went there and had an amazing experience. And when they told me that, I was like, because there's one place I will never go, and it is India. And China was one of them. But then we got my man over here saying, no, you should go. And I'm trying to bond with him, because if there's one person who loved Chinese women, it's this dude here. There's some gorgeous women over there in China. Danny could vouch for it.
You kind of threw a shot, then you threw a compliment, Mr. Let's Go. Okay.
Of course. I'm not. I don't. It's not.
Right, go ahead, Dre.
Yes.
Go ahead, Dre. Go ahead. What you gonna say?
Yeah. Now, I'm definitely not saying that you wouldn't people won't encounter a racist, legitimate racist encounter. But then sometimes, for example, you go to an area or a country to where there's not a whole lot of us. You in Eastern Europe, there ain't a whole lot of black folks. So the fact that everybody's standing at you, it's not racism. They just ain't never seen a real live walking human black person outside of a TV before. That's the reaction you're getting.
Yeah, there's some of that.
That's true, but there's not too much of that anymore.
Oh,
Like,
yeah, it definitely is.
Well,
I
true,
spent a
I
whole
understand
hell of a lot of
There
time in
totally-
Eastern Europe.
there
There ain't a
totally-
whole lot.
There
It's hardly
There
none.
totally is, especially in Asia. In Asia, it's not uncommon for the Asians, depending on which country you're talking about, they want to take photographs with you because they've never seen a black
Yeah,
person.
they've never seen a real live human black person outside of a TV. That's the reaction. They're looking at you in more of a shock. It's like, oh wow,
that's true.
Everybody's looking at you. You'll feel that
But,
in
but it's a
China.
positive in a sense because they're like, if you're here, then you must be someone important.
That,
they
or,
think
I
you're
mean,
a
it could be good and bad, but either way, they ain't never seen.
If you're dressed up, if
That's the
you're
word.
dressed up, they assume you have money because they're like, for you to be this deep in Asia in this spot, you must be a celebrity or something.
All right, shut up, my man. Grego says people stare at white people in the Bluff. It's normal to stare at something
Right.
different. If y'all don't know, the Bluff is Atlanta hood.
Atlanta.
I don't know what the hell good time Grego talking about. But Flight, man, let me ask you this, man. We're gonna end up closing up the show, man. We've been at it for a minute. I know it's getting late over there in Asia, but I want to ask you. I've seen these videos. I think we've all seen these videos. Is it China is the country where on the train system that they don't want to sit by black people? Is that China or is that another Asian country?
I think that could be any Asian country or any country in general. But I never really have that problem. So me personally, like I have this kind of thing where I don't like getting on the elevator of anybody. Like for me, like if I see a big group of people waiting on the elevator, I'll just take the stairs. I just think it's annoying to like get into a small box with other people. So like, okay, so if a woman doesn't want to get on the elevator with me, I can't assume it's racism, and maybe it is, but you know, I also have my own reasons for why I don't want to be in like a small container with some random person. But it's not really an issue. Like, you know, the subway is pretty crowded, man. Like, I don't think. But also, that also happens to white people too. Like, I had a coworker, white guy. He was telling me like he was sitting on the bus, and it was like that whole like nobody wants to sit next to the foreigner thing. And he's a white guy. He's like a you know. So yeah, I think if just because someone doesn't like you, we can say like, okay, if I get rejected by a girl, am I gonna say, okay, she's racist? No, maybe she doesn't like the way I dress. She thinks my hat is stupid. You know, like there's something about me she doesn't like. So it might be something like she just doesn't like about me. So I can't really say, oh man, she's racist. I see her talking to a white guy, man. I bet if I was white, man, she'd be all over me, man. Like, you know, you just don't know sometimes. You really just don't know.
All right, my man Jay Clyde says, man, if James ever walked into any bar or restaurant I'm leaving immediately. He is a racism magnet. Shout out to my man.
Probably should if you're talking to me like that, man.
Oh, come on, man. Come on now. We ain't doing that here, man. This is not razor raised, bro. This is not razor raised.
What I'm saying is, if I'm in that bar and we're having this conversation, and that's how he's gonna act, then he probably should leave because he's just gonna end up sounding like an idiot if he's saying stuff like that.
See, I like let's
We're
go.
having a legitimate conversation, and you're gonna say something like that, and we know it's not true. That's the problem with us. All we do is this.
Now, now, Aaron, who does he remind you of without saying names? That's cool. It's our homie. That's why I say I like let's go. What experience have we had or I'll say in parquet areas that night? Don't he remind you, old dude? And the experiences that he has, not like, you know, it's like, okay,
I don't know, man. I don't know.
It's pretty unique. I know my life is very unique. I don't know, man.
We got a homie that's similar. You know, we love him to death. You know, it's just sometimes, like I said, he peaceful as hell. It's just sometimes the processing of what happened to him, he's gonna react like he's back home, like they did that to him back home, and that's the reaction that he may have. And he don't mean nothing by it. That's just how he processed it.
Yeah, man. And we lighthearted on my show, bro. We don't really be going too extra. We leave all the beats for the Razor show and all that shit.
Well,
We keep
that's why
we
that's
keep it
why I was trying
positive
to warn
here,
you.
man.
We got a lot of haters that came from Razor Ray's channel and follow me. Whenever they see me, they come and they try to, and they hope they can get you to make it hard for me to communicate, because whenever I talk, it makes it real hard for them to be negative because of the way
Damn, why you keep pressing one?
but the way I communicate and talk about things, because it's hard for you to be ignorant if you're talking to me, because I'm only going to make you look like an idiot.
Okay, so we're about to go ahead and end the show, man. I appreciate everybody tuning in. I do want to answer this question real quick to the panel before we go. This is this is kind of written kind of crazy, but is there a country where black men are treated best in this world?
Africa.
That's a continent, brother. Like, you gotta identify a country.
I know it's a continent, but the reason why I don't just try to say one is because
Which country in Africa?
It's hard to pick one. If I'm gonna pick one, I would definitely have to say Ghana.
Okay. Pablo, you want to go ahead?
No, Nigeria.
Yeah, well, I was
Nigeria.
Mm-hmm.
I would say this, just for the reason that Let Go was talking about. Each person will have a different experience depending on their personality, what it is they're looking for.
I think you borging out on us a little bit, brother. Unfortunately, you borging out on us a little bit, Pablo. Okay, go ahead, Felipe.
Yeah, I was thinking this was actually a tough question. For me, I would have to say either.
I said Japan, Senegal, Tanzania.
I want to make a comment, and then I'll tell you my country. That generally speaking, it's my experience and view that black men generally, wherever they go, they're desired, but that within that desiring is a lot of issues. So it depends on what you're bringing to the table when you go to those places. So my comment, I would say either Colombia or Italy, but because I thought it was the same kind of energy. But in that, there are very strict social rules in both of those countries. And BMP, I've been on your panel before when we've talked about Colombia, that you've got to follow the social order there, and you really need to speak the language. So that's what I would say. But I would say just generally, I haven't been, and I've been all over Europe, I've been all over Asia, I've been to several countries in Latin America, and I've had great experiences with the women in all of those places. It just depends on what you're bringing and the energy you're bringing.
Okay. Dre, you want your opinion? Throw your opinion in there.
Yeah, I think it was a difficult question as well. I was trying to think back on any particular country in general. I think my difficulty with it is a lot of times I wasn't looking at how they would treat me for the color of my skin as opposed to me being an American. And I think that's more because I guess my government work is, and people usually overseas look at you as either American, because if you're black, they think you they think you African first, and then you got to tell them you American. So I think in general, as long as anywhere that I've gone to, if I've made the effort like I have in all the countries I've been to learn what's going on, assimilate to what they're doing so that I don't stand out like the stereotype, like I get asked about just about everywhere, including here. Are black people like what we see in the TVs? We hear y'all aggressive, all that. As long as you not that stereotype in these people's countries, you're going to have a higher chance of a positive experience.
Okay. So you haven't really identified a country though.
Yeah, because I mean, like I said, I haven't had as far as people to people interaction, I haven't had a bad experience in that aspect. So I think everywhere I've gone, Eastern Europe, everywhere in Eastern Europe was great. There's a continent that I skipped, and I won't go into that, but so I ain't gonna say nothing about that one. But Eastern Europe, down here, South America is nice. I have not been to Asia yet. But those countries that I've been to, I haven't been treated poorly because of the color of my skin at all. I've never felt that at all.
Okay. All right. Danny?
Based off what I hear.
Hold on real quick before you answer, man. We got to put up, it's not even in the private chat no more. Do you want to throw that in?
Like the link? Oh, let me send it to you real quick.
Yeah, I don't have
Oh,
it.
yeah. So for you guys who don't know, man, I dropped this Asia travel checklist, man. You know I'm the Asia guy. I'm trying to cement my status as the Asia GOAT, the Asia passport bro GOAT. So I made this Asia travel checklist for you guys. It's free. Just go to flightmadness.com/Asia travel. And, when next time you're on your trip, you need to check, make sure you got everything, make sure you don't forget anything. Just go to look at this list, have it downloaded on your phone. So make sure you don't forget anything when you get on that airplane and you get overseas. So you don't have to waste any time, having to go search for stuff, et cetera, et cetera. But yeah, maybe you'll find it useful. Hopefully you find it useful. So for you guys who, like Asia, basically in terms of countries where black men and white men are kind of on equal footing, equal standing for the most part, it seems like Japan and South Korea are places where people recommend. That's what people say. Hey, you go there, those countries aren't easy. They're not easy for anybody, basically.
Really? Oh, over Thailand? That's crazy.
Thailand is just like Thailand is basically like people get action. Like you go to Thailand, you want some action. But if it's like a place where basically if you're trying to get like normal women, a normal girlfriend, based off what I've seen in the conversations I've had, Japan and South Korea, they're not really easy for anybody, especially South Korea. But it's basically, it's kind of difficult for everybody.
That's why I kept it to regions, because you said Japan and Korea, and they like, wait a minute, Thailand. And I was like, look, see, if I would have said Colombia, they're going to be like, well, South America, what about Brazil? Or what about DR? No, just keep it to the region, dog, because some of these folks small brain.
Okay, guys. All right. Well, it's been a great show, brothers. I appreciate everybody tuning in. We out, man. Peace.
See ya.